to another episode of Something in the Water podcast. I'm Sean Clark with Uncle Dave Griffin.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
And our guest this time, Chris and Elena Harrison from, y'all on St. Simon's?
We're in Brunswick.
Brunswick.
We used to be on St. Simon's, but
Okay.
nowadays we've done the big exodus because it got too crazy over there.
Yeah.
Traffic's too crazy.
I heard that it was
Plus,
getting
just doesn't have the vibe
more
it
and
used
more
to, in my
crowded
mind.
and everything, yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, y'all heard so many of our guests on here are from the Golden Isles. Y'all have heard us talk about Brunswick and St. Simon's, Jekyll Island and everything. We got some more Golden Islesers. Y'all are some Golden Islesers.
we feel local. We feel a little local.
Yeah.
Even here. in
And we
Waycross.
welcome y'all.
Thank you.
It's good to have
really
you.
good to be here. Thank you.
And
Thanks for having us.
as you can tell, Elena is a belly dancer.
I'm a belly dancer.
But beyond that, she's a linguist and an author, and you also paint, don't you? Don't you do some art?
Oh yes, I just started. So,
Yeah.
but yes, I really do like it. I
Awesome.
do.
She's a girl for all seasons.
Ambidextrous.
No, I'm not.
You watch your tongue.
Ambidextrous.
And Chris is and one more fact, originally from Russia, born in Russia. Chris is from England
Originally.
and he's I don't know what your real gig is, but he's like what we like to showcase on here. He is a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
That is
So-
it. That's as real as it gets. He's a
Yeah.
singer-songwriter. He's also a fortune teller, but he'll tell you about it later. That's how he makes his
Or
money.
misfortune for some people.
Misfortune teller.
It's my day job. Weirdly.
So that's a hell of a couple right there is what that is. Very artistic oriented, and I'm sure you have a hard time putting up with.
Yeah, it's tough. What can you do? You know?
You know, you've got a rough life,
yeah.
buddy.
You push through. That's what I say. You just keep on. You keep on keeping on.
Well,
You folks at home.
you were telling us in the kitchen. Yeah, sometimes I'll pull my laptop out to do a little business work at home, and she starts dancing. And it's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I try. I try to keep everybody entertained.
I'm constantly shocked.
Yes.
And constantly just kind of wondering what's going on in
Well,
this
what
life.
a pleasant distraction.
Yeah, that's it. It's not bad.
Well, let's start off with a little history. Mm-hmm. So, what place in Russia were you from?
I'm from Voronezh, Russia, which is about 350 miles south of Moscow and about 350 miles north of the border with Ukraine.
Cool.
And it's about a big city, 1 million population.
What?
Wow.
And when
It's a very cool city, too.
when I married Chris and
It's
moved
a bit
here,
like Prague, I think.
my
Personally,
dad told everybody that Elena married an English American and moved to a village. That's what he said. She moved to an American village. But I came here in an exchange program in 2004. Like Work and Travel USA, when students come to work.
Right.
And it's usually Six Flags parks or McDonald's and
Ocean City, Maryland, places like that.
and I somehow ended up at Sea Island waiting tables.
Oh.
And Chris was my trainer. So he said that I was the worst waitress he ever
Dirty
trained.
dog.
So he decided to marry me instead.
I always feel a touch of guilt. Not too much guilt.
Yes, I
Girl,
was
you never make
engaged.
it.
I was engaged when I came here in Russia. So yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's why the books that I wrote, they're about our story, because it's probably too much to tell, but so I had to write the books about it. But I didn't want to talk about something because I find it funny and cool and weird. That my most favorite book when I was growing up in Russia was Gone with the Wind. I read it 3 times by the time I was 12 and then a few more after that.
Wow.
And so when I was telling people I was going to Georgia to work in America, they said, did you do it on purpose because you I was obsessed. I staged a play in high school. It was a Gone with the Wind play.
Wow.
I staged the play. So I was obsessed. And they were like, did you do it on purpose? And I said, no, this is a complete coincidence. So this is about how strange reality is. I do believe we create our own reality through our dreams. So I think I was dreaming so much about Georgia that I just ended up here. So.
And you found Rhett.
I did. And he honestly sometimes doesn't give a damn. So.
Sea Islands, they've let me go over there like 4 or 5 times. But I was going to say that they had the G8 summit that year, 2004. And what had happened was I used to play music in Athens, and I came back. I'd been gone from here, this area my family immigrated to, but I've been gone for like 15 years and done all kind of stuff, traveled a lot, went in the military, U.S. Marines, and then I got out of the Marines, went back to England. Then I went to Montreal, played street music for 3 years in Montreal, underground in tunnels.
Wow.
And then I went to Athens to record CDs, did 2 CDs there over a 6-year period. Got burned out, 15 years, pretty much hardcore, moving around, travel the world. And then when I came back to the cloister, and they hired me right away because I'd already kind of come and gone on different little gaps between bands breaking up. As you guys know, the band falls apart. You got to regroup, get your money back together, new equipment, try to get back out there. But anyway, so in between, I was always coming and going to the cloister. They'd always have me back. And then when the G8 Summit came, they wanted me to be one of the lead waiters waiting on the world leaders. And back then, they were all fine with Russia and Putin. So I was, they did all the security check and everything. They had tight security over there on St. Simons and Sea Island for all that. But anyways, they wanted to make the resort seem more international, so they brought in a lot of people from other countries. So because Putin was friends with Bush, they wanted some Russians too. So the Russians showed up, and there was 4 Russian girls. Well, Elena was the last to show up, and as soon as I saw her, obviously it was a no-brainer. But anyway,
I will train you.
Yeah, I was like, okay, but I'm not kidding. She could not wait tables to save her life. First people she ever waited on spilled a whole pitcher of water. Nice little family, all dressed up for the evening. Complete pitcher of ice water down the center of the table. I had to go rescue it all. And then afterwards, but I probably should let you tell the rest of this really, but it was 3 months of nonstop me trying to court her because I'd been doing all this. I'd been on the road and burned out a bit, and love affairs come and gone. So I was just ready to kind of like finally have a cool girl that I could hang out with and just have a nice life with. And when she showed up, it was obvious to me. So I put my energy there, and then let her go and tell the rest.
And look what it turned out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And 3 kids after, so it's almost 19 years. Yes, so
That's
19
great.
years.
That's a hell of a story.
Yeah. But we traveled. She wrote the books about that.
Yeah.
She's got a book. The first one's called My Journey to the Ocean because our first son is called Liam Ocean. And to arrive at
Liam Ocean.
Yeah, but she came to the ocean here at the Atlantic at St. Simons and
So it's I've always, that was my fascination with the ocean. It's, when you grow up in landlocked Russia, as you imagine, going to anywhere near ocean,
Coast.
I never thought that yes. So we called Liam Ocean, and and the second book is called A Year in the Sky, and our second boy's name is Maximilian Sky. But we first called the children, then we called the books. So it wasn't the other way around. Named the children, named the books.
Right.
But the second book is about gets weird, like otherworldly weird. Basically, she was there for 3 months, and at the end of the 3 months before she went back to Russia, these are just weird coincidences. But anyways, Elena was born on July 31st, which is my mother's birthday. So she was born the same day as my mother.
Wow.
But she was also slated to fly out of America on September 29th, which is my birthday. So she's leaving America on my birthday. So I knew I had a 3-month gap, and I had some, girls I was dating on the side, and I had to basically break it off because I knew all energy had to go into this woman right here. And if I didn't do it all the way, she's probably going to go back to Russia and never see her again. So I put all my energy there, broke it off with the other girls. And then for the next 3 months, every time they had a free break, I took them on a trip down to Florida and even over here to the Okefenokee.
That was the first trip. That was actually a first trip. It was to Okefenokee. We went on a boat. You had that motor boat, and I was terrified. I was there, and there was all those alligators, and I was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Why did you bring me here?" You know, that was. I mean, I liked it, but I was really terrified.
Mosquitoes, and alligators.
She's
I
not a big fan
I
of going
remember
in
those were the
canoes
first-
or boats with me now.
Those were the first pictures that we shared in Okefenokee on the boat. And back then, you know, it was 2004. So I emailed the pictures, I think, to my parents, and they were like, "Oh, this is just so beautiful, so amazing." And my mom was like, "Oh my God, gators, what are you doing there?" So that's,
The spiders, I think, were even worse. Some of those spiders, we took the boat way out there in the middle of nowhere.
yeah.
And some of those spider webs. Just
You have a
made
boat
me-
guide?
No, we did it. I did it. You know, we went
Oh,
on the
really?
Folkestone
Okay.
exit.
Yeah,
We went in the
entrance.
Folkestone, yeah.
And I'd done it a few times before.
Was it canoes?
No, that was a motorized
actual
boat
motorized?
with you get like 6 or 7 of us was in there,
Oh, okay.
and we just took it down the.
Did you
main
spend the
river.
night?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
But
They've
it
got
was getting dark on the way
platforms
back. Yeah,
Throughout the swamp, you can cross from east to west and stop off at night on these platforms that are built above the water.
yeah.
And you can pitch your tent right on top of the wooden platform, you know.
That's where we saw some of those big spiders.
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
That's why I was like,
Snakes and
But then that whole summer, like we did trips down to St. Augustine, went up to Charleston, one to Savannah. Every other week, some people were off. I try to get as many of them in the car as possible and take Elena with me on the trip. But this is where I was saying it gets a little metaphysically strange, right? Right before she's about to go back to Russia, it was September 15th. I asked her to marry me. And I think I did it in Walmart, didn't I? In the bench in Walmart. I'm not
really
kidding.
romantic.
This ring cost $3, and then her ring we got in the children's section because couldn't get a ring to fit her hand for $17.
No, she told me, she said, "We can fit the diamond ring, you know, make it smaller because I have small fingers." And she said, we can fit it. It'll be ready in 3 weeks. And I said, "In 3 weeks, I'll be getting killed by my current fiance in Russia." She thought it was a joke. So I was like, "Let's get this." And, you know, but then Chris.
Well, this is
sold-
the weird part is that I had a condo on St. Simon's that I'd been paying for. So when it was before everyone kind of got into the real estate thing, and I just kind of, you know, my mother's a real estate agent, so she told me, she's like, "You should buy something because you got all this money, you're waiting tables at Sea Island. Don't keep paying rent, you know, that kind of thing." So I was like, all right, I'll just go ahead and buy something. So I don't know if you know Lincoln Place. They used to call it Drinking Place on St. Simon's. Well, I got a condo there, and I was just living, having a good time, you know, waiting tables and partying. And then a real estate agent come and knocked on my door. This was a strange thing that happened that summer because every time we were going on a trip down to Florida in 2004, there was those hurricanes. There was Hurricane Charlie,
Ivan.
Hurricane Francis, and then Hurricane Ivan hit Gulf Shores. And we were going to go to Gulf Shores where my brother lives to visit him when that one hit, which just devastated it, right? But anyways, because of all that, this real estate agent's knocking on my door like a day after I just proposed to her. And she's saying to me, like, you know, I checked it out and there's like only 5 private owners in here. The rest are owned by a local real estate company. Would you be interested in selling yours? Because I have a buyer. He wants to diversify because all of his holdings down in Florida are getting whacked by the hurricanes. And I'm like, I said, well, I could consider it. I said, how much did the last one sell for in here? And basically they said, she said like 160, and I'd already had it paid down to like 90. And then basically, when she turned, then she said, I said to her, well, you can have this one for 170 as it is. You can keep everything in it. I said, except for my music equipment, I'm just going to take that with me. I said, but otherwise, all yours if you want it. And I'm not kidding. Showed up the next day, had a meeting. My mom helped get the lawyers together. Next thing you know, got a check total, like got $80,000. I was a broadcast musician, traveled all over the place, never had any money. All of a sudden I got a chunk of change and I got a new Russian wife. And then she's flying back on my birthday. She goes back for a full year.
Because even
And
though
I have to
You
do the
had to.
paperwork.
we
Yeah.
got married, there was a few reasons. I had 1 year left in college, 1 year left, and then I had to look my parents in the eye. I had to look my fiance in the eye and explain to him, even though I did that, I just couldn't stay. It seemed that I would have been, and you still had to wait on the process of the
I
green
was
card.
trying to
Like you
follow
couldn't
the
drive
exact
or work or
process
do
'cause
anything.
I didn't want it to mess
It
it
just
up,
didn't
you
feel
know?
right. So, but the way it works with immigration, if you go back, you have to wait until the green card process comes through. You can't even visit America on a non-immigrant visa.
Right.
So it took a year.
It took a year, but
You were
during
just
that year,
engaged. You didn't get married.
We did
No,
get
we were
married.
married.
Did
You
get
got
married.
married before you went back.
yeah.
It still took a year.
And we really didn't know the ins and outs of the paperwork, that stuff, the bureaucratic stuff.
But all you knew was that y'all weren't going to see each other for a year.
Well, this is where I was going with this, is that part 2, the next book is called A Year in the Sky. And in that year, because now I had $80,000 plus an extra 20 grand from all the money I'd earned. So basically I had all this money I'd never had before. And the two of us, I told her, I said, I'm going to meet you in different countries during this whole process. So the second book is called A Year in the Sky, because we went to 8 different countries. Every 2 months we were in a different country. And during this time too, I took about 20 grand and put it into a house that was built in Brunswick for us. So when she come to America, exactly a year later, moved into a brand new house with me. And, but basically the year in the sky, first I had to go to Russia to meet her parents, who technically
That
wanted to
was
kill me. That's
interesting.
weird stories on another level. But then after that one, 3 months later, we're in Prague, and it's ice cold in the winter, like blue winter, blue river frozen and everything, but amazing Charles Bridge and everything. And then 2 months after that, we're in Cyprus. And I was into rally racing, so we went on the World Rally Race Course and all this crazy
Scratched
stuff
up our
happened.
rental car.
It's all in the book. So the book's
Exactly.
actually pretty interesting. The second book is really interesting because it's mostly traveling. And then right after that, went back to Russia again 2 months later for the summer, and had a real party and good time there. And then 2 months after that, we're in Spain and France, and went all around the whole Salvador Dali, all the painters, Picasso, Miro,
Edith
Gaudi.
Post, yeah.
We just did this like painter tour, and then saw Carcassonne. We were doing all this kind of weird stuff. We were following the Da Vinci Code at one
Yes,
point.
I was reading the
Yeah.
Da Vinci Code. That was the year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then after that, we were in England at the end and met my grandmother. And a weird coincidence was we saw my grandmother, who hadn't seen me even in like 10 years. And she was in an old folks home. And she got to meet Elena, and I'm not kidding, died 3 months later. So it was really kind of like, everything seemed almost like poetically just kept flowing together. And then, after that, she's wrote a third book called It's All About Love, which has to do with our third child, Chloe Valentina, because Chloe means, the actual meaning of Chloe is earth, and Valentina is love. So it's about earth love. So we have the ocean, the sky, and earth love.
Earth, wind, and
Total
fire.
hippies.
Yes, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Total hippie mindset.
Yes. Yes.
It is like River Phoenix. And,
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
what was
Chris
the
did
other
want to
one's
call
name?
Liam River.
I
Yes.
actually thought about River at one point.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
you did. Yes, I remember that.
So, yeah, but it's a kind of
Man,
weird story.
y'all just kind of, that's,
Yeah, we
That's
can.
fantastic.
We're throwing at you
Wow.
fast.
Yeah.
Because one thing
That's
that's kind of
great.
gone on with us is like we always have these weird coincidences happen, right? And this goes into and you guys were talking about you do the deep dives, but the nature of reality stuff, when you start to really delve into it, which in my mind, and this is, I didn't tell you my band name's called Mental Pictures.
Cool.
Because the idea is that reality is actually all in your mind. And this goes back to like the ancient Egyptians,
Yeah.
esoteric
And
mysticism.
he only had one glass of wine.
Strange stuff, right?
This is all a simulation.
Technically, it's like a
Yes.
simulation.
Pour
but
him another
we're
one.
all in it
Yes.
together.
Right.
And
pour him another one. We'll
Pour
go to the
another
deep,
drink.
we'll go to the deep end.
we've already been to, I can't say it.
We've already been to the cowboy bunkhouse.
Yeah, that's it.
Once you enter the
You're talking
cowboy
about
bunkhouse,
metaphysical.
it's all over. The world as you know it is no more.
That was the wormhole.
It's just a fragment of your imagination.
So, yeah.
Figment.
Figment or fragment. I think both work. Yeah.
It's a fig Newton.
But with a lot of that, I was going to say too, like coincidence-wise, like we just had so much weirdness happening on the journey after we met each other that for me, like I was like, okay, this is how it's supposed to go. You know what I mean? And you probably know this, as a songwriter, as a musician, both you guys, is that, when you're pursuing that musical path and you're on the journey and you feel like you know it, or you're the only one that really can feel it at that time, where you sense it, you just know there's something there, but you can't really, even now, you can't really explain it, but you can feel it. And sometimes, like I used to have a Dalmatian, Texas Elvis was his name.
Texas Elvis.
He kind of proved it to me because like you know how it goes, you're like making a song, you're in the moment, you're vibing.
Yeah.
And you feel like, oh, you can feel it. You get that shot down your spine. And it's like you feel like you're all opening up. And the dog would text with people like right up me. And he's like going, he was getting it when I was getting it. And I started to notice the pattern. Yeah. And I'm like, man, it's like everything feels vibrational right now. Like he really feels the vibe.
So now we have the dog that comes and pees on your guitar.
Yeah.
So what's the deal
My
with
brother's dog we adopted, he just pissed on that brand new Martin.
Like, just to show you, it was done on purpose. I'm just
This
gonna
is the
say.
universe kicking your ass. So yeah.
I like the fact that y'all name your children and dogs 2 names, not just one. It's like Texas Elvis.
Yeah, well, Trouble is our dog now. So we adopted him from
We
Chris's.
should have brought a picture of Trouble.
Chris's brother, but his second name is Bowie because, like David Bowie, he has 2 colored eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yes, so
And we looked up how rare it is, like 1,000,000 to 1. Yeah, it's more than that.
Yeah.
And it's strange because they're definitely 2 seriously different
What
colors.
part of England?
Well, I'm originally from London, but my family moved to America when I was just 7 years old. And so I've been in America most of my life, and I kind of consider myself like a Southern guy.
Where'd y'all move? Oh, St. Simons.
To St. Simon's.
Yeah.
But the story there is that, and this is why it's kind of cool to be doing this interview with you guys, is that my one American uncle is the reason I'm in America, and all these English. There's over 100 of us here now that were brought here indirectly because of him, directly or indirectly. But he was in the U.S. Air Force. He was a master sergeant. He was in charge of a mess hall in London in the 1950s.
Wow.
He was from Thomasville, Georgia.
Okay.
He died of throat cancer in the 1980s from chewing Red Man tobacco. He spent most of his life here in Waycross. But anyways, in the when I was growing up in the 1970s and 80s, he would take us fishing down the north end of Sea Island a lot. Back then it was a wide open where you could get the gate key and go down the north end.
now it's Ocean Forest.
He took me,
I think, yeah.
he took me seining and things like this. But he was the reason we all come to America. So there's all these English, and we all moved into King's Terrace on St. Simon's. And then in the 1980s, my parents built an English pub called the Horses Head Pub. And it was it was actually a very big live band venue.
I think I've heard that.
It was the Horse's Head. They had a lot of bands that were coming through. Circuit-wise, I think the main promoter was operating out of Orlando, but they were on the circuit. And the bands that would come through would be medium to high-level bands like Missing Persons, Huey Lewis and the News. There was a band from Atlanta called The Idols, used to play there all the time. And then my older brother, Stephen, he was a bartender at the pub, but he ended up becoming the lead singer for a band called Caruso that played on St. Simon's. And from what I understand, they were the only band to ever sell out the Aquarama at Jekyll Island back in the 1980s. This is back in the days of the middle of New Wave, before the heavy metal big hair phase. But anyways, they played all these kind of they played Loverboy songs and Bon Jovi, Aldo Nova, that kind of stuff, They'd even go into stuff like Adam and the Ants and weirdness like this, Flock of Seagulls. So it was that kind of thing. And all the English were in the Horse's Head pub and having basically like just a big English party on St. Simon's Island. But then the scene shifted down to the pier, and you had bars like Brogan's and Murphy's and Coconut Willie's, and then
Coconut
Island Rock eventually, or before that was like Dancing Danny's and a few other ones.
Rafters.
But all these, Rafters. Rafters came a little later, I think, because the pub had already
South
closed.
Georgia Land and Lumber Company.
Georgia Land of Lumber
Land.
was actually still going when the pub was going.
Yeah.
But so the scene shifted on my parents, and the pub went under. The middle of the island weren't the place to be anymore. It was down the pier. And so people were going down there. When the pub closed up, my parents packed it in. They left the island. And then myself, I was in the Marines from 85 through 88. So I was in the Marines for that period of time. So I didn't see a lot of this. I left and went in the military. When I got out of the military, that's when I started playing music. And we have friends in common. Like, I think Mark Andrus plays with you guys. And I'm pretty sure that I sold Mark his first ever guitar.
Wow.
Not 100% sure on it, but I know he bought the guitar off me
Yeah.
that when he just had started. It might not have been his first one, but I'm pretty sure it was his first one. But we were all living over on Olive Way on St. Simon's, and Griffin from Southern Soul and all those guys had this group of friends that were all from out of state, and they all moved into this, these little apartments there. And then there was a cool little place called the Tiki Bar where we were all living and playing music. So I used to play music with Griffin back in like 89 after I got out of the Marines. And I lived with Griffin's brother, Robbie. And so I was doing that. Then I worked at Sea Island, but then I left, went to England. Then I, after England fell apart, played street music there. Come back, worked for another 6 months at the Cloister.
It's a
Went to
crazy
Montreal 3 years.
You started
street
talking about
music.
Uncle Millard, though.
I know, I guess so.
Yes.
You start telling this
What
stuff.
was his
and
last name?
Millard Jordan.
Millard Jordan. He lived here.
He lived
In
here
Waycross.
in Waycross and
Wasn't he also
Thomasville.
the commissioner?
He was a Glenn County commissioner in the 1970s.
Okay. Millard.
I probably can't talk too much about it because I think he was involved in some kind of scandal.
Is he still there? Is he
Not
still
100%
there?
sure of that in case
No,
any
he's
of my
passed
relatives
on.
end up listening to this. It's a hearsay type thing. But like, he was a cool guy, told us how to fish, told us how to like cut
And
up
the songs.
fish.
You're talking about the song.
Oh, this is where this is going.
Yes, I knew where he was going. I'm like, redirect.
Yeah. But basically, he used to listen to Jimmy Walker, Swamp Country, all the time. And he had the album. And I was a little kid. And my parents were into like Elvis and Roy Orbison and the Beatles, and Engelbert Humperdinck, stuff like this.
Oh, yeah.
And back then it was the 8-track tapes, and I was a kid and I'm just listening to these 8 tracks. And, that was where I was getting my music growing up. But Jimmy Walker, we also had the albums, but Jimmy Walker was constantly played by my parents. So I thought he was as big as Elvis. And for people that don't know, he was a Okefenokee Swamp Park Ranger who made an amazing album. That
Well, he
really
was very close friends with Chet Atkins, and Chet wrote the liner notes for that Swamp Country album. And I had the same vibe, when I was growing up right here. I was about 8, 9 years old when his 45 came out. It was played on all the radio stations, called Obadiah.
King of the Swamp.
Was
a hell of a man.
King of the Swamp. Killed a bear with his hands. And we thought the same thing. We said, wow, Jimmy Walker's big time. And he was.
I was talking with Josh about this earlier. There's a certain sound that I call it the Sun Records sound.
Yeah.
It's like this golden silkiness. It's an analog, just beautiful reverb vibe. And it was on that record. And when you listen to it, it's like, it's a classic. There's no doubt about it. You're like, wow. And all the songs were so pretty.
And Millard was friends with Jimmy?
Say it again, sorry.
I know.
He didn't know.
We got
No,
South Georgia accent.
Yeah.
No,
He just introduced them to.
Yeah, he just turned me
He
on to
just
the
introduced
music.
you to
He
his
may have
music.
known him.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if he knew him.
Yeah, well, being the head guy out of the swamp, too, the head honcho out there.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Isn't it weird? Because, I was a little kid. And how it goes. And myself, I was listening, like Boston, Queen, the Cars, this kind of
Chris
stuff.
has always had this fascination with the first road trip you took us on was in Waycross, in Okefenokee, and it's always been like the southern. And I'm like, you're strange. You're like not from here, but you are from here.
But I find that to be true with a lot of Europeans, and especially British, is that the southern ethic, the southern, the whole vibe down here, music especially, is embraced by a lot of Europeans.
Well, I can tell you, I've had hundreds of people I've known from England come to visit, and every one of them always falls in love with it. And that's what's, like so many people, especially like, I don't want to say the north-south divide, but a lot of people put down the south. And like, I'm always going to myself like, doesn't make any sense, because some of the coolest people and some of the best writers and creative people I've ever met are from the South.
It's just the stereotype of everything that.
it fits maybe a certain narrative, but it doesn't fit reality when you're in it.
Right.
And
But it also it's kind of takes us bigger. You're talking about bigger picture, about whether it's Elvis or Roy Orbison, or you thought he was famous, but what does being famous really mean? You know, like you as a kid thought of him, he was famous because he was good. So it's just objectively
Yeah.
good. So what does it really mean? And the same about the South. What's true on what's considered to be right or wrong, whether you're educated or more about conservative family principles and stuff. I think the simplicity sometimes in staying true to our roots and to the family and true to who you really are and the basic simple terms is really what it is all about.
There you
No matter where you're from.
And just remember, that's coming from one of Putin's lead agents.
Nikita.
One of the worst honey traps you've ever experienced in America.
Thanks.
Well,
I got caught in it. And
What's the next book, Honey
I
Trap?
wouldn't say the worst.
yeah, one of the best honey traps.
Yeah, I
This
know.
side of the
Exactly.
Mason-Dixon line.
Well, it's like we were talking earlier, it's not rocket science. If we were all just wake up, all of us just wake up every day and just say, I'm going to be the best person I can be. I'm going to be good to everybody. And I'm going to try to do good. And it's just love. You know,
It's all about
common
love.
denominator.
It is in the end. The
and
energy thing.
everybody's got it right
Yeah.
here.
No matter what kind of, this is where we're at these days, like no matter what kind of energy you may be getting from a screen or from, Facebook telling you to react,
Yeah,
or
it's
they
just-
want you emotionally triggered because they need you on that divide.
Yeah.
But when you start to see that and you go beyond that energy wise,
Yeah.
you start to recognize it really is about love. And love is the highest frequency energy. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I've been getting into somatics. Have you heard about this? Somatics with the plates, the Chabadi plates, and they vibrate at a certain frequency and they'll make a pattern.
Yes. Okay.
So you get into these, when you start looking at this, and especially like Josh could probably relate to this with the sound. Oh, it's Justin. Sorry, man. You can whack me in the head in a little while.
It's okay.
He's been called worse.
Sorry, Justin.
By me.
We can't never remember him. We just
Okay.
call him Big J.
You got to realize I just got back from Uncle Dave's bunkhouse.
He's been drinking that one drop
I'm a
of
little
wine
sore.
for the
I'm a little
past
sore.
hour.
Little sore.
You need more, baby. You want more? There you go.
No, but
is
anyway,
red.
about the
Yeah, I'll
frequency
give him
thing
the
and the
red.
vibration
Yeah.
thing, when you look at the musical spectrum, right, and the frequencies
give
on
it
the
to him,
high end and the
right?
low end, and you're doing sound, you start to look at you start to pay attention more to frequency, I think, if you're an audio guy.
Right.
Because you're looking at where certain aspects of the kick drum might be, or the bass, or the vocal needs to be up in this range between whatever 2 and 5K, whatever. So you're starting to look at frequency more. That's kind of what happened to me. And when I started really realizing there really is a frequency to the way that we communicate and the way that we act and feel. And the animals are all part of this too. The whole
Everything's on
Yeah.
on frequencies.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but I've been seeing little bits in podcasts and stuff about that, and it's
440?
intriguing.
the 440, 432 debate.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Something about that I read one time that the Nazis were doing with the frequencies. I
Right.
can't remember enough about it to.
Something that they messed
Be
with
able
it,
to
and we
explain
are
it.
still on.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I've experimented with it a little bit because I've tried to do
What hertz was
tunings.
that?
Say it again.
What hertz was that?
Well, it's 432 hertz.
432.
But there is in this case, the out there stuff as far as the chakras and different frequencies when what they call the Fibonacci sequence, the golden mean, also called, there's another term for it, the solfeggio frequencies. But basically it goes back to what it gets weird into esoteric mysticism. It has to do with Kabbalahism. And they kind of understood that everything was energy, frequency, vibration, like Tesla said. And because of that, and this even could go into conspiratorial stuff today. It's do the people that run the world actually understand that we're energetic beings and that they're controlling our emotions? And that's why keeping us divided and conquered, low vibration frequency, watching shit on Netflix.
Right. Dumbing us
watching-
down and
Dumb you
dividing us.
down,
I feel like I'm
divide
pretty
you.
sure with the music you told me before, and that kind of made sense to me. I don't get too much into conspiracy, but that made sense to me. With the Nazis, that they changed something in the frequency, that the popular music we're listening to is actually in the bad frequency.
Or it's a disharmony. It's
It
not
is.
as harmonious.
So,
Yeah,
so
it's-
that's why when you hear music, like I told you, like Pine Box Brothers, it's the raw, real sound. When you hear real music, it stands out because it's real, because it doesn't have. So, and it's strange because pop music doesn't really sound necessarily depressing. You know, it sounds like people
Right.
want to hear it. Not like, you know, when
But it's
I've
the
kind of gone
frequency.
back
But
and
it's the
forth on it,
frequency
because
that-
some songs I've tried writing in 432. I just lower it down a little bit, and it, you know. But I feel like when I do it, that it doesn't have the same vibe. Actually, the other way. Whereas maybe it's because I'm too comfortable. I'm not sure. You know, 'cause you get used to how you write and stuff.
Like I heard Imagine was written
Oh yeah,
like in that.
432.
But everything before 1930 or so, you know, and this actually goes like conspiratorially goes into the Rockefellers too, because they're the ones that were pushing it after the Nazis pushed it first. And so it was actually it was the Germans pushing it first, and then it got changed by like the Recording Industry Association in the 1940s, right around the end of World War II.
Yeah.
That's when 440 came about.
That's when they went to full 440 across the
I didn't
scale.
realize it was that recent.
In reading some of that stuff, I couldn't decide whether if what they were saying because the particular one I was reading, it seemed a little pushed
Right.
to believe it, and I was like, is it?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell because
Yes,
when somebody has already an opinion.
Conspiracy thing.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we should pull the conspiracy back and head towards the belly dance.
Yeah. No, it's good.
We'll save conspiracy for your deep end.
That's another thing. Vibrationally, even if you talk about it, you kind of sink into
Yeah, we
a
have
lower
noticed
vibration
this,
frequency.
yeah.
So you're in a catch-22 because when you discuss
All I
it,
know
you
is
still
belly
get pulled
dancing
in.
makes me feel good.
No, yeah,
That's
belly
all it is.
dancing makes everybody feel good.
Well, matter is all molecules and atoms vibrating at different.
Yeah.
Well, it is actually interesting. But speaking
Everything's
of
alive.
belly dancing,
Even you.
Everything's alive.
Well, there was a woman. We were at an oyster roast like a week ago, and this old lady. She must be like about 85, and we started having this conversation. And she actually says to me, she goes, "So is the consciousness in the matter, or is the matter in the consciousness?"
you're
I'm
like,
like,
what oyster
wow,
roast
Let
do
me
you
have
go
another
to?
oyster. I'll get back.
So, in other words, this is what I do with my band because I call it mental pictures. But the idea is,
You got a
that-
band right now?
well, it's just me in the garage at the moment.
All right.
And like most people, COVID destroyed everything.
Made me rich.
But basically, if the five senses or our senses, our human body is basically like a high tech computer, or we are in a simulation, so to speak, then in a sense, the consciousness came first, and then the matter or the weight of your thoughts provides the density. In other words, it gets pretty complex.
No, we'll
of
just
course.
get to that we're all one and everything is a simulation.
Right. We're all one. That's great. But the problem is we're busy beating the shit out of each other.
This is great. We've never wound down this road at
I'm
a
sure you
something in
haven't.
the water podcast, but there's something in the matter too.
Well, you should see our, like, you know how people have their little YouTube channels at home and you can tell kind of like what someone's watched, you know? So, well, you look at ours and it's like, okay, they're fucking nuts.
YouTube history.
We have like, nature of reality stuff, transcendental meditation.
We sleep to the frequencies. So, like, it could
By
not,
the way,
you know,
yesterday I came out, he fell asleep on the couch and he had like, it looked like the mothership was going to come and take you, not in a good way. It felt like, Mom, I had to turn that one off.
well, yeah, sometimes I do that.
Well, let's get back to Russia for a minute. You know,
Okay.
we do have a lot in common with Russia. You've got a Georgia over there.
We do have Georgia,
Yeah.
yes. Well, and we had talked a little bit about this, especially where I'm from, Russia does have a lot of more, I guess, conservative, family-oriented views on things in general,
Right.
I would say. And once again, if you're putting, it's not really stereotyped. It's just I'm talking about most people in general. And that family-oriented stuff, like I'll talk to somebody from the South and they'll be like, oh, yes, we're also making pies and canning everything. I'm like, yes, we have to can. This is like the thing that you do. It's not necessarily something you can relate to people from different parts in the United States. I think it's very family-oriented. And I think that's why I feel
So at home
I
here.
feel so at home. Like I don't. But
A lot of the women in the belly dance, they
What is
share
your
stuff with you just like that.
the place that you're from? What is
Voronezh.
Voronezh? What is it like?
It's
Mountains.
Tell about the story of Peter the Great.
Yes,
It's
so
interesting.
it's very flat. It's very famous. It's the capital of the black soil region. First of all, it's the most fertile land, one of the most fertile lands in the world. Everything grows in it. You just throw the seed and it grows.
Wow.
And it's famous for Peter the Great, who Leningrad, St. Petersburg, was really famous Russian emperor and czar, very crazy too. So he decided he was really into Holland. He really loved Holland. He loved loved ships.
Sheep.
Not sheep, ships. This is
You
Russian.
do well at all
So Russia was landlocked
He
before
fit
that.
in right up.
Did you have any water like lakes and all?
He
in your
wanted.
area?
We had
They
lakes
called
and
him Peter
stuff.
the Great.
So he wanted the fleet. He was like, Russia's gonna have the fleet. So he went to two wars. He went to the war up north and he went to the war down south and got the Black Sea and the Baltic Sea as the result of the wars. Then he said, let's build the fleet.
Navy.
And so for the fleet, so this is when my city becomes, I guess, this is what they call it, the city of the bride, so the city of the most beautiful women in Russia, because Peter the Great, in order to attract men to build ships, because we have pine trees. That's another thing that's a lot like here.
Right.
We have pine trees and
Birch
the
trees.
Don River that flows into the Black Sea, which they could build ships and put them right straight into the sea. So, but he needed to attract men to come to want to build the ships. So they kidnapped all the most beautiful women from across the Russia and brought them in the 1700s. This is what everybody tells you.
The Russian Navy was built there. And
Yes.
that's the city of beautiful women. And I've been there now 10 times, right? And it's like...
Can you attest to that?
I can attest to it. I tell you what, when you sit on the sidewalk at a sidewalk cafe, like you would do in Paris or any other city, but it's actually quite a developed city. It's a bit like Prague, I think. But when you sit on the sidewalk, it is like watching a Victoria's, Victoria's Secret, right? It's like watching all the beautiful models of that coming down this runway in their outfits. And it's just like, mind is blown. As a guy,
Yeah.
I'm just like, unbelievable how many beautiful women are
Make
just
you want to
coming down
build a
the
ship,
street.
won't it?
It does make you want to build a ship.
Next thing you knew, you had a hammer and
You said frigate.
You're over there. I mean, I'm not kidding. When we went for our wedding in Russia, because we just did a
Y'all
quick...
got married in Russia.
We got married here
In
with a
Brunswick.
$35
right.
probate court certificate. And a
you
horny
did it
judge.
Yeah, the judge, you have another.
The judge made a bad cunning linguist joke because she's a linguist. He's like, oh, I knew a cunning linguist.
At our wedding. This is like... So...
But anyways, like we
Lord.
went to Russia, and in Russia, like when we get there, she's like, "Yeah, we'll have a wedding party. You have to carry me across the bridge because you have to carry the bride across the
this
local
is a
bridge."
tradition.
Across the bridge.
The tradition is actually the groom carries the bride over 7 bridges. I don't know where this came from,
Yeah,
but
I only did one.
it's the dedication. And so in Voronezh, we have this small bridge, and it's this cute little old bridge. And men use this
That's the
bridge.
marriage
Yes, that's
bridge.
the one, because they're like, oh, it's super, like it's 4 steps literally. Like, oh, okay, here you go. And then you break, like, so you carry the bride over the bridge, then all your friends are there, and then you drink champagne, and your friends drink champagne, then you kiss for like eternity, and then you break the glasses. And I don't know who cleans it up.
Yeah, I think it was
But-
just all left there when I was gone. No one was picking it up. But this is where I'm going with this, is that basically we got a nightclub And, once again, I had all that money, right? Not these days, but back then. But anyways,
That was a long time ago.
I was thinking it was going to cost a lot to have this Russian wedding. But instead, it was like me, Elena, 16 of her beautiful friends, all girls. Because, once again, Russia, most of the guys got wiped out in World War II. So
Yeah, there is a
nowadays, the men to women ratio is ridiculous. So there was only one guy there who was my best man. And he had to be. He was the only fella. Right? So we managed to get in this nightclub, like had the back of the whole club, giant couches going all the way around, our own private wait staff, 17 people drinking vodka all night, hors d'oeuvres and food served all night long while we're dancing in this discotheque. Real modern too, real cool club. $250.
Whoa, my God.
And even when I went to go tip, Elena was like, that might be too much because in Russia, they're not used to you giving like 30 or 40 bucks as a tip, So I was like, well, I don't care.
Well, like, now probably it is with the exchange rate.
Yeah, it was 2004.
You remind me of another tradition, and I forgot, but maybe people will find it interesting, all these wedding traditions that when you're celebrating, the bride is supposed to be kidnapped during the celebration, and the groom is supposed to do something to kind of
in the party
get her
afterwards,
back.
not during the actual.
But like I think that one comes from because Russia has a lot of traditions from like
Rasputin getting in there.
No, it's the
ripping it
Mongolian.
off.
It's more like Caucasus Mountains. It's more like of the Muslim tradition, maybe, that the bride gets kidnapped and the groom is supposed to do something. It's like as a joke to get her back.
Okay.
So Chris was stripping in front of those 16 women. That's what I'm saying. You have to
Okay,
strip.
that's not very
I
heroic.
wasn't given a choice.
They asked for it.
When
Well,
you're
it takes a
surrounded by
lot of balls.
17 beautiful women, you just do what you're told.
Was that your way to get her back?
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't think about it. Anyway, it's kind of crazy.
I'm gonna take my clothes off.
This is a funny story, is like, because I'd never been to Russia, and like most of us, you just watch the James Bond movies and assume that's what it's like.
Dr. No.
But when I get there, like it's kind of intense to see is like the size and the magnitude of the buildings and the giant wrought iron fences, in Moscow particularly. But when I got to Voronezh, everyone's real happy to see us at first. We come in the door. It's one of those buildings that Stalin built. There's 10,000 people living in it. And but anyways, like we're up on the 8th floor. It's the middle of winter. It's minus, 20 or so, right?
Yeah.
And her dad's there with all of his friends. They're all computer engineers.
Oh,
but-
yeah. By the way, I got to tell you. So Chris is 17 years older than me. And my dad is only 5 years older than Chris.
Oh,
so
okay.
that
he was in
a
the
big,
Russian army in the 80s, training to kill me when I was in the U.S. Marines in the 80s, training to kill
There's
him.
some more of that metaphysical stuff.
Yeah. But when we get there, when I meet him, he's real cool at first, and everyone's real happy. But then it's weird in Russia, all the women seem to migrate to the kitchen, and all the men go to the other room. So I'm left with the men, and everyone's doing the vodka shots, and I'm not a real serious
You're the
drinker.
enemy.
My drinking days were already over at that point. I had serious drinking days. But anyways, they're doing vodka shots, and I'm trying to eat these potatoes to try to like alleviate the alcohol consumption. And so I'm eating potatoes as fast as I can to absorb it all, so I can manage to get through this. But I'm not kidding. Her dad and all his friends, they look like the mafia. I mean, her dad looks like Robert De Niro, like a harder looking Robert De Niro. And then one guy was called Alex the Ukrainian. He weighed 300 pounds and he's 6'8", pure muscle. And so we're up there in this building and it's on 8th floor, frozen winter. And then I suddenly had this, how it goes, like we're joking now, but all of a sudden it just kind of hits you. I'm like, whoa, what if they don't fucking like me, man? I'm in trouble if they don't like me here because there's only.
Dad called you on the balcony.
Well, this is what I'm going with. Is her dad then says to me, like, all the guys kind of calm down. I could tell like half the guys are migrating that side of the room, and her dad's over on this side with a couple of friends, and they're kind of chatting. And I'm sitting there going like, am I going to throw up? We're going to make it through this. And then her dad just kind of goes, hey, let's talk. And it was like one of those things. And I'm like, and he steps out on the balcony. And there's just a stone balcony and a 100-foot drop and the frozen snow down there. And when he said this, it just hit me. It was like, oh shit, I'm in fucking the middle of Russia, and I married his daughter, and I'm a lot older than her, and he wants to talk to me outside, and I'm like, fucking hell. And I actually thought, I was like, Chris, man, you played a lot of games, but you might have stepped in some shit here. This is worse than Uncle Dave's bunkhouse. So anyways, I step out there with him, and he could speak a little French, and I took a little French, and I lived in Montreal for a while. So
my dad couldn't speak English.
He just leans across to me,
okay.
and he just goes, Elena, mon coeur, and which means she's my heart. And I just went, I just looked at him, and I just, I was just in shock a bit. Like he actually looked over the edge before he said it.
He was joking. I'm just gonna tell you, that's my dad's way of joking.
Well, he was sussing me out. He's feeling me out, and now we're best buddies. I mean, we've had some great times. But anyways, like,
What was your response?
my response, I just was like, Elena, mon coeur. Elena, look, I said, Alexander. I said, I love your daughter. I love your daughter. And then he was like, let's drink, just like you would see in the movies or something. But I came inside, and he was telling everyone, he's like, he's okay, And so then they were all...
There's one of my dad's friends that he
one of them did come up to me afterwards, and he leaned in real close, and he says, if you ever do anything wrong with Elena, I will come to America, and I will find you, and I will kill you. And I said, don't worry about it, man. I said, you're good to go. I said, message understood. And she heard him leaning into me, and then she's like, what do you say to you? And I was like, and I told her, and then she goes, you don't tell my husband this.
No, I was just like, that was all like done without my permission. We can tell you like stories, his Banya stories.
Oh, yeah. It took me to the frozen river.
Banya is like
story
this, I don't know if you know what Banya is. It's like a sauna, but it's a more of a humid version of the sauna, and it's hard to I'll explain it to you because otherwise it won't make sense to you. So people go to it's like a wooden, like a cabin in the woods.
Right? Okay.
And you go in there, and you make it usually in the winter, and you make it super hot. And this is gonna get really weird, but they use birch tree. They put birch tree twigs together. And you're supposed, especially with men, you hit men on the back because it's good for your prostate.
We do that in the bunkhouse all the time.
It does sound like you should have a
my prostate's okay for a while, okay, personally.
And then you jump either in the snow or into the frozen river.
Ah.
And then you drink when you do it. It's called banya. And it's like really hardcore Russian tradition. Like I have never done the jumping in the frozen river part. Like there's more civilized versions now, like a sauna. You go in the sauna, you jump in the swimming pool. But like, of course, my cousins, I don't have brothers or sisters, I'm an only child, but my cousins, they got all like super excited when found out I married an American. They were like, oh, let's show an American, our banya. Let's all go to banya. So they organized this, and we all go. And Chris will tell, he has a funnier perspective.
Okay. Here's how it starts off. We get there, cabin in the middle of the woods, like a horror movie. But initially, like the girls start stripping down to the bikinis. And there's like 6 or 7 really beautiful women, once again, stripping down to bikinis. And the guys, they get their little Euro, those briefs they wear. Looks like a pair of panties. But anyways, they're all like, come on, it's okay. And they give me a sweat hat. They put this hat on because it gets so hot, it's moist. If you don't wear it, your hair could actually fall out from the heat in the sauna. So they give me this wet hat, and then we get in there, and I'd eaten a lot of potatoes once again, knowing that the vodka was going to kick my ass. So they always have lots of boiled potatoes. So I just like sucking them down because trying to absorb that vodka. They want you to drink with them all the time, right? But it's not like what they tell you in America as far as the vodka thing with Russians. It's actually much more of a like food ritual. Like you do a shot and everyone eats some food, like it'd be some raw fish or raw vegetable or fruit.
It's pickled fish.
Pickled herring.
Everything is pickled.
Or some caviar or something like this, but a pickle. You'll eat it after a shot. You never do a shot on its own. You always do it with food, and usually around the table, and everyone drinks together, and you make a toast, and it's usually to someone who's passed on already, right? So it's kind of cool to me. I liked it. But anyways, I sucked down all these bloody potatoes, went in there, and all the girls are all in there in the bikinis, and there's the guys over there. They're like, "Come on, American, lay down here." So they lay me down. They start whacking me with the birch
And Chris
tree.
is like, "What's happening?"
And it's not like a regular, it's not like a light little tree thing. It's got barbs in it, you know. And I'm getting whacked on the back. I'm like, "Fucking hell, man, that's painful shit." And, so that's happening. But I was willing to put up with it because the girls are so hot. She didn't want to go, by the way. She didn't get in there. She was like, "I don't want to do it." So I was like, okay. Went in there with them. That was the first time I went in. And when I come out the door, and it's hot in there, you know, like 120 some odd, 30 degrees, whatever. I come out, they hit me with a full, from behind without me realizing, full cooler ice water from the river. And when it hits you, it's just like, bam. I mean, you know, I did some crazy shit in the Marines, but it was that kind of feeling of like, whoa, like adrenaline surge beyond belief. And so they hit me with that, and I'm just like, whoa, you know, and I was drunk. So then the next thing you know, we're back in there doing more shots, and then they're like, let's go again. And when I go back again, it's like only half the girls, like 3 of them now, and just 3 guys instead of 6. And so I'm in there, and they're like whacking me again, and I'm like going, and I'm thinking they probably wouldn't do that again. I step outside, here comes the fucking massive ice bucket over my back. And I'm like, ah. So I'm just going with it because I was just feeling crazy. At that point, you got so drunk. But then we go in there a third time. This time, there ain't no girls. There's one guy. He's naked. He's fucking naked. And he's holding the branch. And I just looked at him. I said, no. I said, this ain't going on. I said, this ain't no Uncle Dave's bunk house.
Is there any way we can get Alex the Ukrainian to come over?
I'm sure.
I want to have him on
It
here.
gets a little stranger too. I come outside. No time. They don't throw in a bucket on me this time. But they're all there screaming, "To the river, to the river." So they run through the woods, half of them naked. The guys are mostly naked. The girls are in their bikinis. They're running through this dark woods at night up to this river. It's the Voronezh River. It's as big as the Brunswick River. It's as wide as the Brunswick River there, right? Under the big bridge. It's that wide.
Wow.
And it's frozen. It's completely frozen, right? And they run out there, and there's a hole cut out of the side of it, about 15 feet across on both sides. They'd already had it cut. I
Don't
didn't even
still
know it was there.
listen to me, please.
Sorry, darling. But then they start jumping in, and so I'm so wasted. I jump in like a nut job, and this is like, you know, they tell you like, you know, never dive under the ice. I was so wasted. There was a thought at that moment that I would fuck with them and hide for a second, you know, because I was going to prove that I was crazier than they were. And I'm not kidding. It was in my mind. I remember thinking it, and I thought to myself, like, this is crazy. We're in this fucking frozen river, and I've just got my ass kicked, but I feel amazing. You know, it was really weird. But anyways, woke up the next day, and the only thing I could compare it to is like when I was in the Marines, and we would do like what they call fast roping out of helicopters and stuff. And you get that adrenaline surge because you're doing something that you really are terrified or
fast
feel.
roping.
Yeah, you come out through what they call the hell hole in the bottom of the helicopter and come down a rope.
Repel.
It's not rappelling. It's actually you're hanging on a rope at 200 feet, and you've got an 80-pound pack on your
I
back.
thought you was lassoing something.
No, you come down through what they call the hell hole in the helicopter, and you slide down the rope just using your feet and your hands. If you let go, you're done. You know what I mean? And then when I did that in the Marines, it scared the shit out of me. I realized, man, I got a serious fear of heights.
Like, why am I doing this?
But I do remember too, when you do this type of stuff, it's a bit like getting a tattoo or something. Like the levels of pain, the adrenaline, it really does like transform you. So anyways, I woke up that next day in Russia, and I looked at Elena, I was like, man, you know, that was something else. It was really a life-altering type experience. I didn't expect it.
But I gotta say, that's why I didn't want to do it. Not like every Russian is doing this. This is like an extreme version of something crazy, you know. So he's done it, and I guess he's proven my cousins that like I can do this. And when my dad asked him next time, so how did you like it, my son-in-law? And Chris said, after last night, I'm not sure if I'm a son-in-law or daughter-in-law. After that guy was standing with the branch next to me, because it was weird. But
The things you do for love.
oh yeah.
Now, do the women get beat too, or are the women doing the beating?
Yes, would do, but yes,
They
yes.
do it with lighter, because they call it a broom, but it's like, it's actually just twigs put together.
Mm-hmm.
you
I
know?
think it's like a lighter version. My mom actually goes, it's like her thing she does with the girls, but they go to like a complex with a pool where it's a sauna. Sauna pretty much just has a dry heat, and that one has a more humid heat. But it is good for your skin, and they do it more like with essential oils and massage oils, more like a civilized
I got
version.
you.
This
If
is
you
more
like,
like a
I'm
wild
not kidding.
version.
If you're like someone in the world who's just got yourself so wound up, so tight, or you're so stuck in some kind of mindset that you feel like, you go do a fucking banyan, and you will be a transformed person on the other side. If you got it done the right way.
Yeah.
And for me, it felt like almost like, I felt like I just had the shit beat out of me or something by nature almost. Like they're beating you with the sticks and the ice cold and the river and the temperature. It's like, it was pretty wild.
It sounded like a shock to the system.
It was. That's what it is. A
Totally.
shock.
Over here, I guess in America, I wonder if they do it over here somewhere.
I know in Canada they
Probably.
do it. Up in like northern Quebec. 'Cause
Down here,
I had
we
friends
just
up there. that
we just
done
have
it.
colonoscopies down here. That's it. Yes.
Cowboy bunk cut.
all kind of
Free
things happening out there.
colonoscopies.
Well, a lot of people are doing the sauna, and then they'll get out and they'll get into the ice bath,
Right.
Yeah.
and
So-
then they'll get back and forth, and it's some kind of shock to your.
Yes, it's a
System.
stimulus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
kind
a
of
contrast
shakes your body
shower.
up.
When you're in the ice, the blood all goes to the center of your body, and then when you get out, you feel great because it all pushes back.
Yeah.
But even if you go, like we have a little pool at our house, is an above ground pool, one of those you get at Walmart. Well, we go jump in there in the morning, and like it's nice. Like you if you're waking up, it shocks you out of that. You're suddenly like, yeah, I'm ready for the day.
Yeah, for sure.
So we go jump in there all summer long. In the winter, we don't do it too much, but she actually holds like parties, New Year's parties.
Yeah,
She
you
does
should
the
come to our
banyan.
New Year's party. We
Yeah.
drink vodka and jump in the pool.
And we fire fireworks directly into our own house.
No, yes, that's what we did last time.
On purpose.
If Matt Williams and his family is watching, I apologize for nearly killing
Is
you.
that Matt Williams from 80s Ladies?
Matt,
Matt Williams?
he
Where's
just
Matt
got the award on that music thing for his album choices. That's Matt.
Guitar playing,
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Williams? Oh, yeah.
He used to. Matt was more of a what do you call it? A looper. He kind of
Yeah.
like did a lot of looping and live shows here, and then he moved up to Iowa, and then he went out to California, Denver first. I
That
think.
other guy's Matt Williams, too, right?
Yeah, that's a different Matt Williams.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
that Matt, he was in Ambrosius was the band
I think Matt sits in with a lot of people.
with Michelle
No, I don't
Hanneman.
think he.
and
I don't think he was playing with those
Michelangelo.
guys seriously, but he might have sat in with them a bit, maybe. Not
there's
sure.
a lot of Matt Williams.
Yeah.
For that.
Maybe, yeah. Tell Matt he needs to have a stage name.
But I think we're talking about the same one.
He
Tell
did.
us about the Goddess Retreat.
Oh, the Goddess Retreat.
Is that something that you started?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So this is the third year we're doing this, and it's on Jekyll Island.
Picture.
On Jekyll Island, and we're doing it on June 16th through the 19th this year.
My wife wants to come to that.
She should come. She
Okay.
should come. She's gonna love
Is it like pay to go type thing?
Yes, so it's base. It's a 2-day and 3-day deal, and ticket is separate from. We're doing it at Villas by the Sea, so it's dancing on the beach, and we do yoga meditation. We do glamorous photo shoots, which is what Annalise is doing. So it's all about being glamorous. And yeah, that's it.
Oh, cool.
So we're doing it on the beach, and we do performances on the beach, and we do the gala in the ballroom this year too. And so
Cool. What do
Yes.
y'all? I guess y'all sleep in motel while you're there.
the Villas by the Sea.
Villas by
So
the
all
Sea.
of it, we book the ballroom from the Villas by the Sea.
Mm-hmm.
And originally the idea was to do everything on the beach, but then I found out I still try to do a lot of things on the beach, but some things are not realistic on the beach. So we rent the ballroom for that. We have 53 people already attending this year.
Really?
Yes.
What's the cost?
It's $229 for 2 days and $279 for 3 days, but that's just all the classes and all the parties and stuff.
Okay.
But the room at the Villas by the Sea is separate. But why I like the villas is because you can book it with other people, so you can. It's like a 2-bedroom condo, 1-bedroom condo, and you can split it between 4 and 6 people, so it's pretty affordable.
I was going to say, maybe you should do a belly dance demonstration.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Well, we are going to take a break, and that is about the perfect. That's a segue right there. Let's call that.
I was waiting for this. Thank you.
I hope y'all are enjoying this as much as we are. We'll be right back.
Something in my brain won't let me stray. Something in my veins gonna find its way. Something in the water taught me how to pray. When that cold black water finds its way into your vein, you'll never be the same.
Hey, folks, we're back again. Our lovely guests, Chris and Elena Harrison. Elena is going to perform a little bit of magic for us in the form of belly dance. I think she called it belly bombing when she does it in front of the Eiffel Tower and Grand Canyon, places like that. But we are so happy to have her in the Something in the Water studios tonight. And I'm going to quit talking now because I'm so happy. Carry on.
Once upon a time, there was a girl who made a wish to find herself a love and finally make a switch. Then you came around, you healed another stitch, and I'm glad about that. I can finally make a switch. And I know, yeah, I know, many would like to be in my shoes. And I know, yeah, I know, with you I got nothing to lose. When I'm down, you can bring me up, 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 up. And when I'm hurt, you know I don't need much. You can use that magic touch. When I'm down, you can bring me up, 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 up. And when I'm hurt, you know I don't need much. You can use that magic touch. You can use that magic touch. You can use that magic touch. I was running all the time, babe. You came and slowed me down. It's me, myself, and you now, levitating off the ground. And when you came around, you healed another stitch. I was lost, but now you found me. I can finally make the switch. And I know, yeah, I know, many would like to be in my shoes. And I know, yeah, I know, with you I got nothing to lose. When I'm down, you can bring me up, 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 up. And when I'm hurt, you know I don't need much. You can use that magic touch. When I'm down, you can bring me up, 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 up. And when I'm hurt, you know I don't need much. You can use that magic touch. You can use that magic touch. You can use that magic touch.
All right. Yeah.
So who needs the red card?
Oh, it was a different version of the song?
Hold on just a second.
Great.
Thank you.
Dave's checking the
sorry.
pacemakers.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Justin.
Oh. Sorry, Justin.
That was
That
great.
was excellent.
Thank you. I don't know if you could tell I improvised because it was apparently a different version of the song. But I think maybe I pulled it off. No, you,
Good.
you didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know.
I didn't hear any complaints from the
No, that's great.
No one
No.
fell asleep. I can tell you that.
That was.
That's awesome.
Now I know why they call it belly dancing. That was great. Now we're going to have a little bit of music in just a second. We're going to come back and listen to the song stylings of Chris Harrison. Chris is an original singer-songwriter. He's played in many bands. But before we go, let's take a look at some pictures up there, Justin. Let's see. Maybe y'all can kind of help us set this up a little bit. It's actually a video from the email that I sent you. And it says Chris 92. Yeah, that second one right there. That second one right there. Just drop down there. There it is.
That was a bit of an REM phase. That's obviously when you watch this thing.
It says 92.
I'm not sure the audio is going to be
In
good.
Montreal.
I didn't know you sent this.
I didn't send it. It was from the Facebook.
I dig deep.
Columbo.
Columbo. I like that.
The hairline recession wasn't on yet fully.
Elena.
But you can see it coming.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And
sure.
Chris.
We forgot about this.
I say my hairline recession wasn't fully in swing yet, but you can
So that's
see
you?
it coming.
Is that you there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What was the name of this band?
That is still my band name, Mental Pictures.
Mental
It
Pictures.
was started in
He came back
1992.
to it because I really liked it. And I told him we need to bring it back. So he.
Well, it says a lot.
Yeah.
It says
Well,
a
yeah,
lot,
the
too.
world changed mentally in my own mind. So I just like, okay, what's the difference? Let's go
Well,
back
that's
to that
all
old
we
name.
have is mental pictures.
Yeah.
And this is in Montreal?
This is Montreal. I went up there and lived illegally. This is an interesting story. I bought, I was told you I was like buddies down here with Griffin and all those guys, and we were playing down here, just having fun. I was living in a place called the Tiki Bar, and then hanging out with them guys. And then I met these Canadians on the beach, and at the time, the Tragically Hip was a big thing in Canada. And we were listening to it all that summer because they were down here. They were tennis pros over the College of Coastal Georgia. And anyways, Carl Whitehouse, the main guy, he's like telling me, like, if you ever come up to Canada, you should come up here and live with us and start a band. But he didn't really expect me to do it. But anyways, I didn't do it right away. I actually went back to England because I wanted to kind of explore my roots. And I ended up being a street musician over there, played street music. And then when I come back from England, then I realized like I could probably play street music in the tunnels of Montreal. And so I ended up going up there and I bought a 1973 orange and white Volkswagen Wonderloaf. We call it the Wonderloaf because everyone said it would never make it to Canada, right? 1,350 miles. And I wondered whether it would make it too because the door fell off when I bought it and nearly took my toes off. But anyways, like my dad, who's a mechanic, he worked on it a little bit and I only paid $550 for it, right? Outright. Took it up to Canada. And when I got to the border, they took that thing apart. I'm not kidding.
Well,
They
Chris
custom-
showed up looking like this with a goatee.
Yeah, and I had a
Yeah.
band. I had a band full of gear, music equipment mainly, right? And so they took the whole thing apart, took the side panels off, and middle of the night, basically stuck there on the border. But then they let me through, and anyways, it ended up being a 3-year stay illegally.
Let
I
me
was
tell you
playing
something
street
because
music.
I have visited Montreal after that, and Chris brought me there, and then I came by myself with my friends. And Chris still has really good friends in Montreal, and they told me that he was he was famous in Montreal. They were recognizing him in the
Famous
streets
for a
of
day.
Montreal. Not for a day. He goes, they would recognize him, and Montreal is a big place, but then
Well, our band, it went pretty quick. Like as soon as we got the guitarist, Alan, he was a really good guitarist, And it was that era, you guys probably definitely relate to this. It was like the Seattle sound had just taken off. Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam were all the rage, and Montreal was all about that. And here we come, and I had this kind of like, I was into David Bowie and REM. So when I started singing and with the band, as soon as we started hitting it off, it was like, oh man. So we started doing basement parties, and we were playing clubs, and then there were small clubs at first, and they started getting big stages, we were playing little festivals and stuff, and it was going real fast, and we got on the radio. we're in these competitions and stuff. And then it just once again fell apart like almost
That
everything
fell apart
does.
because of his love life, though.
Yeah.
But then again, he wouldn't have met me.
I fell in love with the bongo players.
Well, as a matter of fact, the
Girlfriend.
video,
There's a line for
the
a
video that
song.
you're about to
I
watch,
fell in love with the bongo players.
the video you're about
It's
to
really
watch
happened.
is 92, right? And so we were just showing it to our
Her and I were
kids.
so wasted all the time that we decided to go backpack around Europe and forget the band for a little while. So we were gone for like
Yeah.
3 months. And we was like in Holland, just staying in a tent, stoned. And so we didn't move for like 3 months. And when we came back, everything had changed. You know? So it's one of those things. I thought maybe the band would still stay together, but it didn't happen. So
Oh.
anyways.
So what would y'all classify this band?
Well, I'm not sure what
Let's
song
just
you got
listen to
queued
it
up
and see.
even. I don't
It's
even
that,
know.
it's that little thing that I put on Facebook. That's all
90s
it is.
alternative.
I feel like it might be REM because we were doing a cover of Begin the Begin, and we did
The
a lot
audio
of
is not going to be that
obscure-
great here because I was.
We didn't do any mainstream REM. We were doing the obscure stuff of like Document and Murmur.
I just like seeing Chris's face there. That's all.
There you go.
When you play it, it's really funny.
Roll that fabulous.
The sound is terrible.
I hear the REM.
I just like the
I feel
hair.
like
Look here. The hair is all you're looking at.
the requirement back then was a fluffy shirt and a vest. Okay, that was the trend in the early '90s. So
Rest of these guys Canadian.
I like this way that you film or that you put it up because this guy he zooms in and it says hell. And then he walks off like he doesn't give a shit. He's like, that looks like hell down there.
There's the bongo flair.
Yeah, that's Rob. And he turned me on to the Tragically Hip though. He's a really good guy.
Look at Chris's facial expressions. He looks so crazy. He doesn't look that crazy now. Yeah, there you go.
We were doing all those covers though. We were doing that what's that Pearl Jam?
Black.
I can't remember the
Black.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were doing a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah.
But we'd also
We were doing that too about that time, yeah.
yeah, we were we were doing like David Bowie as well because I was always a Bowie fan. So we were doing like Ziggy Stardust and Space Oddity. And then we do like some Pink Floyd. We did the Stones 2000 Light Years from Home. Had a pretty kind of like lo-fi psychedelic version of it, you know. But there was a lot of good, interesting music in there. It was pretty good.
What else we got on that?
What
Email.
else do you have like dug up on
you
that?
know what? I was supposed to support
Okay,
this.
Uncle Dave.
I was supposed to.
I'm not wondering what
I
I
was
should be
supposed
putting
to
on
support
Facebook.
this with a picture of me with a bunny head on,
Okay.
and I forgot all about it. That's it.
Up
Yeah,
next,
that-
mug shots and baby pictures.
Yes, this is,
That actually moves, don't
Elena does all the holidays.
this was my.
it? Somehow that's just funny.
This is what they call it, chasing the white rabbit.
Damn, that rabbit can dance.
This is one of those Arabic songs that I like, and I thought it's funny. Yeah, oh my
That's the thing
god.
about the old TikTok type videos, you know, it's like, it's
Reels.
got to be 20 seconds, but it's usually pretty ridiculous. You can't put anything serious there.
Well, you know,
what I
this
mean?
is your friend James's daughter. She was doing the Easter Bunny thing.
Okay.
And I was.
Hey, Annalise.
Yes. Hi, Annalise. Liam was doing the Easter Bunny, so I was helping him. He was done with his shift, and he was really happy.
Right,
So I was
yeah.
like, let me put this
Okay.
on and
That's great.
dance.
There's one on here. Speaking of Annalise, her daddy's in this next picture here. And Santa Claus does just move on to the pictures there. Santa Claus does have something in common with belly dancers. He's got a belly. Most Santa Clauses I ever knew had a belly, a big one.
Except for James Files.
James Files in real life don't
He's a
have a
skinny
big
Santa.
belly. So this is props. Well, it says Santa. I think. Oh, the names, did the names show up on there?
And
Well, I did.
I can't see that far. It looks like hieroglyphics.
Maybe I never saved it. Okay.
I say you did catch a good amount of weirdness there, though.
I
you gotta
know.
use
Yeah, show some of them
Variety.
weird belly dancers.
yeah.
That ain't weird.
You're so weird.
that
man.
one.
Folks, now that beach right there is Jekyll Island.
Yes, this is
It
what we
was
do.
used in the filming of The Walking Dead.
Right. Oh,
That
yeah.
same beach.
in one of the X-Men movies.
Really?
Yeah, the one with
Something
Kevin
recent
Bacon.
too. That there's a movie I think with Ralph Fiennes in it, where it's like a chef and they make this. There's a resort where I think they might be eating the
Oh, yeah,
people
yeah.
or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
I watched that.
then
That was
everybody's
filmed.
Menu.
running for
The
their
Menu.
The
life.
menu. I watched it.
Yeah.
That it was filmed there.
That was filmed in Jekyll.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I just found it out myself the other day. I was like,
Wow, I
I
And
didn't
this
don't
is
know.
where we're doing the goddess retreat.
That's where the goddess retreat takes place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that
That's a
picture,
good picture, too.
That was for like Coastal Illustrated.
Yes,
or
Laura,
something.
Laura Angela Photography. She's a local photographer. This is not Annalisa's, but Laura Angela Photography took this picture.
Laura Angela?
Laura Angela. And
Laura
she
Angela.
still does it on St. Simon's. And yes, she's a very talented photographer.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's Goddess Retreat.
Yeah.
This one is
Okay, this is
Golden
Serena.
Owls. Belly dance.
We do Halloween dress up. So
That's
this is
awesome.
Yeah. They
One
mess
of
with
my
all kind of
friends,
things.
Serena.
I like the red hair with
Internet-wise.
the looks like the.
It's like Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah. Illuminati. Red Riding Hood. She's gonna
What they
eat-
say is
The
Little Red
Illuminati was a
Riding Hood.
person.
Yeah. She's going to download all your personal information
The
before you
better
get
to
to
see
grandmother's
you
house. The big bad wolf.
That's the logo. Elena runs this company over there, and it's called Golden Owls Belly Dance.
Did you just change the name?
So no, that was the mess up with the pictures, with the pages.
Oh, yeah.
So I was hacked in August, and I had to start a new page. So now, but I finally got access to my old page. So still Golden House Belly Dance, but I did start a non-profit, Dreams So Real,
Yeah. Okay.
and I
Okay.
changed the second page to that name.
I just noticed that I had a notification that said this page is now
yes,
called
I
this.
changed.
or
Yes,
whatever.
so I have two of those and
Who did the?
logo.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm trying to find those people because those were people on Fiverr. You know, you've heard of Fiverr? It's
You
a
pay $5.
well,
will do
well,
you.
it's actually not 5, but but I want to say this logo didn't cost. I
like guys
swear
in
this
India or
like maybe
Bulgaria or
maybe it was
something,
like
yeah.
$50 for this logo, and
Wow.
it was
It's
done
cheaper
in
than-
Yeah, that's a
2017. And
savings. Yeah.
yes, I really like that.
It's a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, proud.
The girl who did your book covers too, she did an amazing job.
Yes.
She's out in California, and when Elena asked her to do it, and she does these like really amazing romantic novel covers, you know. But she asked Elena to do kind of more like a surreal looking, kind of more cartoony looking, you know. So it's more tongue in cheek, so it looks something someone would take on vacation. But then she did it all, and then Elena found out, oh, she's from Russia. She's living in California. She's a Russian.
That was a strange. That was a very
That's another
strange
weird
thing. I
coincidence.
sent her an invoice, and my PayPal has a strange. She sent me the invoice. I was paying it, and it has a really strange name. That's like my parents. They call me Little Piglet in Russian. It's Hryushka in Russian. She's like, and she sent it to me. She goes, "Are you Russian?" And I'm like, "I am." She goes, "Me too." That was a very strange thing because we spoke in English for like. Correspondence was in English for like good 3 months, and we had no idea.
Did you pay her in rubles?
No, in dollars. You know,
Is
how,
that the currency?
you know
over there?
how rubles go. You're right. Yes, it's rubles. Yes, it's rubles.
Rubles sounds like rubble.
Yeah, this is our first goddess retreat, the first time. So we had one last year, and this year we do have 53 people signed up, but it's only we're only
It's
in
growing.
May. Yes, so
And the one this year is June.
June 16th through the 19th. Yes.
So I
This
don't know
is
when
where
this episode is coming out. I think it will be June 15th, I believe.
Yes. This picture was taken by Annalise. I really like it. We're all acting really silly. It's one of those, like almost like that REM video that you like.
I was going to say this about like even the classes, but even when I'm like seeing what she's doing with all these women, you know, I told her, I was like, it's weird because it's almost like it's not really almost about the dance. the dance is one part of it,
Mm-hmm.
but really what's happening, and it's really cool to see, is that, and especially in the post-COVID era, right? A lot of people just want to experience the
Yeah.
joy of life and doing
Yeah.
something, and want to break out of what the screen is putting in their minds. You
Right.
know what I mean? And when you, some of these women, like I've talked to some of them, and just I've bartended for her when she does her retreats, and they're just like, "Oh, your wife, they're doing the most amazing things. You're bringing the coolest people together and having a great time of our lives." So I feel like myself when I'm watching it, it's like, wow, it's cool that you're doing this in Brunswick and you're bringing this kind of.
Well, the coolest thing is they're making friends. There's a lot of ladies there that are now they're in their 50s and 60s, and a lot of them told me that they never thought they would make new friends or do, you know, because a lot of people are just sitting at home, especially you know after all the family has grown out, and people are making friends. So ladies are, so that's really cool. I like that. Yeah. Oh, that's Becky. This is one of the pictures Annalise did as well.
What is this formation? Is that it's called something?
So this is technically different. This is different mudras. She's holding mudra as a position of your arms and hands that seals the energy flow in a certain way. But this is the one that they're doing this in the Indian thing that shows the
Shiva.
multiple
Shiva.
Shiva mudras at the same time.
Okay.
So Becky did.
She's the goddess of destruction.
So yes, so Annalise did this. Becky did, of course, multiple poses. It's her arms, but Annalise like juxtaposed them after that. Yes, so it's not multiple people there. It's Becky. It's all
That's
Becky.
great.
Oh, cool. I thought people were behind her.
No,
Yeah.
that's all digital. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
but this is a cool picture.
That's beautiful. She is too.
She is. Yes, she just got back to belly dance, and she took a break, but she's back, and I'm happy she's back. Very.
That's it. Okay, cool. And the only reason I copied those videos was because I didn't know if you were going to plan on doing something live. So we'll just skip that and go straight to the live. We'll be right back. All right. Well, we're back. And we're going to let Mr. Chris Harrison right here play us a couple of tunes. The first one he's going to do is the old Jimmy Walker original, Swamp Country. Waycross man wrote it.
Inspired by my uncle who grew up in these parts.
There you go. Don't get no better.
Let's see how it goes. Swamp country where the alligators crawl. Many a man has walked right in and never came out at all. Out of that swamp country where a man can find his worth when he's all alone and he's on his own in the land of the trembling earth. Swamp country, a place called the Okefenokee, where the quicksand lies before your eyes, and the people seldom joke about that swamp country, where a man can find his worth when he's all alone and he's on his own in the land of the trembling earth. Well, there may be many stories that never will be told, for no one knows the secrets that those ebony waters hold. Back in that swamp country where the panther stalks his prey, where the cottonmouths hide and the gators glide silently on their way. Back in that swamp country where a man can find his worth when he's all alone and he's on his own in the land of the trembling earth. In the land of the trembling earth. In the land of the trembling earth. In the land of the trembling earth.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
All right, yeah, that one feels good to play. Just because got to play with you.
My great-great-granddaddy grew up on the Cowhouse Island in the northeast corner of the Okefenokee Swamp.
really?
So I got some heritage down in my blood from that place.
Yeah, that's so funny though, because when we did meet you at the Swamp Fest, and then Elena started. I should probably get a little closer to. Well, Elena was telling me like, that'd be cool if you went over there and played that, Chris, because you did grow up with that song.
That's super cool.
Yeah, when I'm singing it, I'm not kidding. I try to sound like him because he did have that kind of. I don't know. It's.
Well, Chris told me about it when he took us to Okefenokee with the kids and stuff, and he told me about that it means the land of the trampling earth.
That's what the Seminole word is.
I
Yeah.
never knew that, and then eventually just like dawned on me, and I'm like, you're just like so strange. How do you know those things? You feel like you just grew up.
You know what? You guys could probably relate to this. Do you remember like in the 1970s, they had these like. You remember like Cracked and Mad magazine and Crazy magazine?
Yeah.
But they also had these, you'd go to the store like Jack's Minute Market on St. Simon's, and they'd have these like thin magazines about swamp tales where like women would like be scantily clad and they're like in the swamp. It'd be like Creature from the Black Lagoon type stuff, but it was more like, it was the tales of the Okefenokee. And I remember getting one and it had all these stories about people who went in the swamp and they never came back out. You know? It was pretty cool. Like
I've never seen any of that.
they were like,
I don't recall. Were they a magazine or a comic book?
they were like thin little magazine things, but they were storytelling books.
Maybe
Yeah,
you
like,
them out.
nah, I don't think this one. I'm pretty sure this was a real
Did you
thing.
dream that?
A lot of things I'm not sure about these days because I actually go like, did that actually happen? When you tell it, like the thing is like, like you live in certain things and you go like, okay, did that really take place? And if I tell this story, is anyone gonna fucking believe it?
Yeah.
You know why they call it the land of the trembling earth?
Because it's like quicksand.
No, they've got millions, thousands of years. The cypress trees grow tall, and then they get peat moss hanging off of them, the limbs, and the peat moss just drops off into the swamp and just steadily compacts itself and gets taller and taller and taller and taller. Finally, it's a damn floating island that supports vegetation. And you can be poling by in a canoe or something and step out of the canoe on top of this floating island, and it's like you're standing on a waterbed or something. Yeah.
We still need to take my parents there. We still haven't taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they can come back to the United States at the moment, it's tough.
Do it when there's no
really-
yellow flies.
So you want to try to
Let's do an original.
join up on this one?
Yeah. What's the name of this?
This was called Navajo Horses because I do have a bit of an infatuation with the
pretty-
West. And whenever we
pretty
go
tight.
out west, one of the things we always do is we pull over by the side of the road when we see some horses, and we try to take some pictures, especially if they're like those Apache-style horses, and just hang out with the horses for a little bit because I figure it must give you some kind of magic properties, some kind of weirdness. But anyway, so this song basically is about our trips out west and traveling and just, and in the song I kind of threw a Bonnie and Clyde line in there, and it's about me and Elena. But she would, when I'm always making her do this stuff, or I stop in the middle of nowhere, you're out there in the middle of like, tons of desert, and then I pull over and to just see some horses for a minute, and she's usually complaining. So like she complains about the fact that do I have to get out there? I'm not gonna walk out there barefoot. There's like cactus and shit. But I'm like, I was like, we gotta go pet the horses. Come on, we gotta get over there.
He
But anyway,
always makes me. He pushes me outside of my comfort zone.
Good.
After 19 years, I gotta say, I am grateful for that.
Yeah.
Had they not done that, who knows where would I have.
but you'll hear in the chorus it says, a Navajo horses on the other side of a barbed wire fence while you laugh out loud and tell me to get away.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I'm usually and here's another thing. She always likes to take a piss. Whenever we're like in the middle of nowhere, she has to pee. She got like a leaky bladder, and so I have this little game I play.
I have a leaky bladder.
Well, you have a very weak bladder.
Tiny
So,
tanks.
anyways, when she's not looking, she's squatting down to take the pee. I always take a picture, right? And then I joke that I'm gonna put it online. I never do, but you mess up in the future.
Speaking of
That should be a
Okay,
coffee
so-
table book of just
this
those
one-
pictures.
Okay, basic GC thing, but it actually got a little drive and rhythm to it, so it's. Let me start over. Fuck. We lit out from Mendocino, a light we saved our souls halfway to dreamland. The band lit out upon the great American road, drinking in Mojave sunset, feeling the wind just blow. Halfway to Zion, we were dancing stone, the Native American ghosts. Ooh. Headed up to friends at Burning Man, struck out in search of gold, sweated it out upon the desert sand. The demons taking hold, stumbled down the old grand staircase, got lost on those back roads, soaking up that Utah sun. Bonnie and Clyde are on the run. When I look back upon those days, I see you standing there, your eyes lit up, a smile upon your face. Navajo horses on the other side of the barbed wire fence, and you laughed out loud, tell me to get away. Pale skin in the desert, warm wind of the desert. Pale skin in the desert, warm wind of the desert. The wind that drives me on, the wind that carries me home, the wind that drives me on, the wind that carries me home. The Vermilion cliffs, they loom like stallions, charging across the plains. We slept out amongst the stars at night, giving all the horses names. Beneath the monument's long shadow, deep red rock fades to gray, watching the tourists driving by, sharp like an eagle in the sky. When I look back upon those days, I see you standing there, your eyes lit up, a smile upon your face. Navajo horses on the other side of the barbed wire fence, as you laugh out loud, tell me to get away. Ooh. When I look back upon those days, I see you standing there, your eyes lit up, a smile upon your face. Ooh. Navajo horses on the other side of the barbed wire fence, that you laugh out loud, tell me to get away. Pale skin in the desert, warm wind of the desert. Pale skin in the desert, warm wind of the desert, the wind that drives me on, the wind that carries me home, the wind that drives me on, the wind that carries me home. Go for the big finish. The wind that drives me on. The wind that carries me home. Ooh, wind that drives me on. Ooh, the wind that carries me home.
Boy,
That's a barn burner.
that's a damn road
It's a
trip
driving song.
there.
It's a good one.
That's a
It's a
great
driving
song.
Well, that's inspired by probably more the Jayhawks and the Band of Horses.
Yeah.
But when I came up with it, I was like, this is probably a Band of Horses type song.
I can hear both of those bands in that.
Yeah.
If you guys liked it, you know, you should. I know I'm biased, but it's only one
Oh, I
song. Chris has like
Yeah, I definitely
so
want to
many
hear.
of
All
them.
right, I definitely want to hear more of
Well,
your
the thing is,
stuff.
what's weird about me, and this is what I say, like I feel like I'm a disattached kind of guy. Like I've always been kind of caught between two worlds or two, realities with family and everything. But basically, I can write poppy, cool little weird English ditty type things with cool licks, and I have that on my Mental Pictures Spotify page. Like there's a ton of songs there that I just pop out, but I do it at home, record them. But then I also have this side where I can do, I was always into early REM, and I like Irish bands like the Waterboys,
But they all
traditional Irish
have-
folk.
They all have
Jayhawks.
their own vibe, and they have the lyrics that make you go. So I remember when Chris came to Russia for the first
yeah.
time, and my dad said, I said, can you sing one of your songs? And he did, and he asked me to translate them. And my dad said, he goes, he never liked my first boyfriend. So he said, what's the deal with you? You either date a total dumbass or a fucking genius. That's what he told me. He actually told me and I said,
Or a mixture of both.
So which one is he, Daddy?
I was like,
Yeah, exactly.
so but it's with the lyrics and stuff. And I know, like, once again, I'm biased, but I filmed a lot of his songs and stuff, and the words there. And
What I try to do, I'm sure you can relate to this, is that both you guys are.
Pull that mic closer to you right there. Yeah.
What I try to do is like when I'm writing a song myself, I feel like I'm just painting a picture, right? But I also tell, because of the way I approach it with the Mental Pictures theme, which is basically that you're the creator of your own reality, and that you can kind of describe the nature of reality in the lyrics. So, but with me, I try to make sure that every theme is a little surreal or otherworldly. So you have to kind of take them out there. I guess I'm inspired by David Bowie and stuff like that. But you take it out there in 3 or 4 minutes, and then try to bring them back to earth. But the challenge is when you're doing it, like I get, pretty far out there sometimes, and then just get kind of in your own little fuzzy space, and then trying to bring it back down, But there's so many influences that we were talking in the kitchen. There's so many bands that we can agree upon.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
awesome. Pavement, Replacements, Neutral Milk Hotel, Elf Power, that kind of stuff. Early REM. there's just so many good bands out there. But I try to put them all in there, so I'm not afraid to wear my
Yeah.
influences right out in the open, because I'm happy I was influenced by so many good bands, and I feel like we came from that era.
Yeah, we did.
And now when you look at this, especially like with, they're talking about AI music creation. People like us are going to become the hidden gems in the future.
Yeah.
Because you're actually.
I don't think AI can even. It's the same about painting or creating something. I don't think AI can even get close to.
Well, no matter where, it's definitely
The real
going off
human
the rails, and it's going to
creativity.
be. It's
I
going to
don't
have all
think
these
so.
people trying to create stuff with your voice or with something else, but ain't nothing going to beat the just basically
real
sitting
thing.
there
I mean, it's
and
a real
recording
thing.
it just like this.
But
The
you
real
guys all
thing
know
is
this.
that.
Yeah, you are all the creators, so you know when you're creating, whether it's a piece of music or a piece of writing or a song, it's there's something that you. It's channeling is an
Channeling,
overused.
yeah.
So it's channeling is an overused term, but it's probably the best
Sometimes
one.
it feels like it's not you.
It's not you.
It's just like
Right,
you
it
know
just
what's
flows
coming next,
through
so
you.
just write it down. You know, like you feel where it's going because you
That's
can.
the cosmic energy
Yeah.
coming.
Well, and this
AI
is
don't have cosmic
No.
energy.
AI is something
Some-
that you put through your brain and then overanalyze
That's
and
why
put
they
it through the
call it
computer.
artificial.
I
Exactly.
say, if you got the mic still running, I just want to give you an example, like how the weirdness comes to me, like this stuff, right? But this is just the lyric. This my song's called "Are You on Drugs?" And the theme was that
That's my favorite
It's basically
song.
an airline pilot who's lost his mind, and he's got all these passengers of different types on the plane, and he's going crazy flying this fucking thing, and they're all in the back, and they're wondering, "Are you on drugs?" Right? So, and it's kind of David Bowie inspired. 'Cause I have a line in there about Major Tom, but
I love this
it goes
song.
like this, real quick. I'll just do it so to show you where how the lyrics on my end flow. This is an English style.
Good.
So it goes like this. It goes. Hello, fellow passengers, visionaries, messengers, those who refuse to bend. The temperature is moderate, the landscape is desolate, and soon we'll be cruising in. Place your heads between your knees, hold your breath, try not to breathe, soon you'll be washed ashore. It's my English side. Gather up your relatives, your positives, your negatives, and prepare to disembark. Martyrs, please form on the right. For nihilists, it's black and white. A bit of order, if you please. Heads of state, people not yet dead. Grab a chair and be discreet. Let's not wake up the deceased. First, let's all get one thing clear. I'm wondering why I brought you here. I can't recall your names. But if you'll calmly wait your turn, I'll get to you all in due time. We'll end this grand charade. Are you on drugs? Are you on dope? 'Cause I just can't get enough of you, and I don't know which way to go. Are you in love? Are you on your own? 'Cause I couldn't bear the thought of leaving you out here all alone. The guitar chord. Major Tom to ground control. I've seen the light, I'm coming home, and what a tale I can tell. Chaos with an access chart. Fuck, I forgot the words. Man, I've been through hell. Men from space form on the left. Let's analyze your bated breath and make sure you have no scars. Big Brother doesn't welcome men who stir up the establishment. Please fill out this chart. Are you on drugs? Are you on dope? 'Cause I just can't get enough of you, and I don't know which way to go. Are you in love? Are you on your own? 'Cause I couldn't bear the thought of leaving you out here all alone. And here I am, sliding down the ladder of life. And I'm wandering and constantly wondering. For all it's worth, I just sit back and try to see everything and be nothing. Hey, you! What the fuck you gonna do? It just gets so weird. And then the last verse is like basically it says, buried under all the sand, the Sahara Desert holds the hands, 1 billion tons of gold, enough to feed the world 10 times. If men only knew where to find, the secret remains untold. Like answers to the universe, well, none are better than the first, but most are best left unsaid. But someone has to crave it all and cause the rest to stand or fall. And us, we break or we bend. Are you on drugs?
This is great. This is by far my most favorite song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do, though, man. I just make weird.
Ain't it fun?
As weird as
though?
possible.
Ain't it fun to put out one like that? To spit out one like that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, he's like.
You can write songs about love. You can write songs about loss. And you can write some
Yeah.
imaginative
Stuff.
stuff like
Right.
that. Are you on drugs?
Well, it does. It's one of those songs that makes you wonder: is it a positive drug message or is it a negative drug message? I can't really get my finger.
I
around
really
it.
like this. I don't know what this is. Can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, sure.
I had to pee.
I do have to pee, but it gets worse. It progresses.
Oh, sorry about the bang.
The song or the pee?
Yeah, the songs.
The song is better.
I say once you have 3 kids, the songs deteriorate after 10 o'clock. Did you know that?
It's not true.
Yeah. Yeah, the older you get, you see your songs changing too.
Yeah.
I love it. Songwriting.
Oh, I do too.
It is like,
Yeah.
what you guys do too, like when I saw you guys there at Reed's Apothecary, you can tell it's just like a raw,
I want to party with y'all.
doing your thing.
That's what I want to
But
do.
Elena, like, I was just kind of standing there watching. I was with some of the belly dancers, and we came in and we were watching you guys, and I was like, I said, Elena, I was like, man, this is kind of weird. Actually, fucking really good.
When are y'all
I didn't
gonna be
expect
there
it because
now?
normally in there they'll have like some jazz or some.
Yeah.
The last one,
but-
when you just did, you had like Abe Partridge, but like it was British. And like,
You ever heard Abe Partridge?
Yeah.
Of Abe Partridge?
Yeah.
Have you?
I'm probably more influenced like on the English side by the 80s stuff, like The Cure and some of that stuff.
Mm.
I was never like, not big U2 guy, but like more in the Echo and the Bunnymen.
Mhm.
And when you go back to the early stuff, like I was a huge Stones fan, had the, Tattoo You and Sticky Fingers, that era.
Mhm.
And then I was also a big Kinks fan. I love the song Around the Dial. I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's one of the Kinks' best songs. It's an amazing song. So Around the Dial was like an early big influence. And people would tell me sometimes when they hear me singing, they're like, you sound a bit like Ray Davies of the Kinks,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
is cool to me.
well, I mean,
Because,
but that
I love Ray
song
Davies.
And then the previous song, the middle song.
yeah. But that's my...
They're two different.
Yeah,
things.
that's my American and my English side. And that's the thing is, like, I don't try to, like, I've had bands where we played together and some of the guys would be like, you probably need to pick one or the other. And I'm like, I can't, because they just come out, the songs
Yeah.
pop out, and some are American and some are kind of English.
But you can kind of back up both sides of
Right.
it. So
Yeah, it's kind of like Ian.
if I did it, it would be, what are you doing? Yeah. Why are you singing British?
Well,
I have no reason to be singing with a British accent.
He's a folk player.
I will
Well,
say
he's a
this
folk original songwriter, and then he's got a side project called the
Psych Peas.
Psych Peas.
Psychedelic Peacock.
really?
He sings punk,
That's
It
pretty
is
wild.
punk.
but I mean, and he's like,
Oh, something that while we were on the road, he hit like number 2 on the CMA
really.
charts or something.
Something. They were calling in to vote or some kind of thing. It was something like that.
I will say this though, you guys are probably can agree with this because you know too about like the transatlantic thing between the music. The British got the blues from the,
Yeah.
and then you had the, after that, then the Americans got the British with
Yeah.
the heavy British invasion, and then you have your new wave and so on and so on. But when I think about the music that probably has the most feeling of the two that I do, I feel like the American one does have the warmth. It's weird, but the English does feel cold. it's weird to me.
I think
It feels a
the
little
British got the soul from America.
right. It's
And,
but
and
Yeah.
America got a little bit of attitude.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, bands like Green Day, you can see like they really borrowed heavily. From,
Yeah,
like,
they
the
really
Sex
wanted to
Pistols
be
or the Clash,
British so bad.
You know,
But as far as the cold goes, I feel like that was more of the point from the British point of view. Like it was supposed to be cold and
Kind of the
yeah.
winter.
well, the Beatles had the warmth. They definitely had the warmth
Yeah,
in their
yeah.
music, you know.
Yeah.
But you look at some of the other bands that come out of the UK, and they didn't really seem to. To me, they didn't
Yeah,
have
I-
that warmth.
I
They
meant
may have
like
some weird. It's like David Bowie. I
post-
love his
post
music, but it
Beatles,
isn't
yeah.
extra warm or anything, really. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Whereas Americana, and especially like when the acoustic instruments are more to the forefront, and maybe the mandolin, when you get some almost like bluegrass Appalachian sounds in there,
Mhm.
it can get real. Just has a nice, more down homey vibe, I guess.
Mhm.
And the Brits are always
It's a
like,
big world. We all
Oasis.
borrow from one another.
yeah,
That's the beauty of it. The Beatles will tell you, everybody looked to America for that inspiration, musically. But then they put it together and sent it back to us. And as a 10-year-old, saw them on Ed Sullivan, and I said, what is this new music? What planet are they from? But it was American music being regurgitated and sent back to me. And I said, please, Mr. Postman. That was a Motown, that was
Yeah.
Shirelles.
yeah.
I
That's a
never
whole nother discussion
heard
right there.
The
'cause
Shirelles,
all that music, the Motown music,
Yeah.
the Supremes, and Smokey Robinson.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff too is a bit of an influence for me too, because my parents were playing that stuff. I really like the way the Supremes were recorded.
How was your growing up with music and stuff?
Well,
Did you have a lot of it? Did you
well,
have
that was
albums
an
and
interesting
stuff?
one. I was
Yeah.
telling Chris about it because, my parents had me very young. My mom was 22, my dad was 21, and I was born in '83, and they were growing up when, say, jeans were prohibited in the Soviet Union. You could not
Right.
wear jeans because it was an American Western influence, but everybody wanted it. It was already
The
78.
black market.
So it was already 78, so it's already kind of people were doing it anyways. And so what I was trying to say, I grew up on Pink Floyd and Deep Purple.
Oh, Deep Purple was massive. All of my
Massive.
dad's friends, when I'm talking about, they're like, you listen to Deep Purple?
So
They just love
they, we have actually, as a matter of fact, a friend of my dad, a very good friend who we just met in Mexico again. He lives in Denver. He's a musician and he plays Deep
He's got a
Purple.
great band.
And
Really?
yes, and he's my
He's
dad's
playing like
age.
Brian May solos.
Mm.
Really amazing.
And so we were deeply those Pink Floyd and Deep Purple probably would be the most two. Well, the Beatles, yes, for sure. Right, the three most bands that we
Deep
were
Purple, I was blown away
like
by how many people really
Smokies,
loved them.
the Eagles, yes, absolutely.
Really?
So
Okay.
when Chris came to Russia, how many times we sat down around the table, they're like, please play Hotel California. How many times did you have to play Hotel California? Because they just
I do
had
a
to do
reggae
Hotel
version.
California.
So you know how you
And
do it on
so,
reggae version, but easier than having to do the other one that gives you the shortcuts. You don't have to do the solo and shit. Too.
So we had these bands. We have a few bands that you will not know, but Chris liked them. I played them a few times. There's two bands. One's called Time Machine,
Oh yeah,
Машина
they're like
времени.
Russia's Pink Floyd.
and another
Okay.
one is Воскресенье, which means Воскресенье could mean Sunday or resurrection, whichever way you want to look at it. But they were called the fathers of the Russian rock and roll. But they are one of the songs, Chris, is like he tried to make
yeah.
a cover of it because it's just
It's a
so
beautiful bit of music,
But I think it's very probably
and it's real poetic.
classic rock.
It's about an artist, and he's painting, and he's looking out a window, and it's raining on the window, and he's describing basically
That
how the
he's
scene
trapped
looks so
in this
blurry, and
window.
he's trapped in this world. It's weird, but it's cool.
But then he says, but all you need to do is to break the window. And then
Can you find that
Yeah.
on YouTube?
Oh yeah, I
you
can find it
stuff?
in YouTube. Yeah.
I tried to.
I want to get that from you too. I want to see
It's called
that
The
too.
Artist and the Poet.
If you do you want me to look it up?
Not right now.
Not right now?
Not right
Oh, later
now.
on,
I mean,
yes.
we're going long here,
Yeah.
but I just
I'll
want
send-
it for my personal.
Yes, I will
I'd
send
love
it to
see
you.
that.
I'll send you the cover. Yeah, I mean
Awesome.
the original cover.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we had a lot of it. It's more
You got Mummy Troll.
Well, Mummy Troll is a bit more.
Mommy Troll.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the Green Day almost. But
Okay.
they're more like a Green Day meets REM.
That's a bit of when I was growing up. That was my very first concert. But when I was growing up on, that was very like, I think we're more closely connected to like the bands like the Eagles and Deep Purple and Pink Floyd, and people realize Russia is huge on it. Probably bigger.
That's interesting because you were born in '83, same year my daughter was, and you take that and the Eagles and Deep Purple and all of that were
We come a little
my
later,
generation.
but
Yeah.
it's everything is with a bit of a delay. I don't know whether it was because of the Iron Curtain or what was going on, but everything is like, I tell Chris, we'll think about the same things. I'm like, remember this phone? You dial the phone. He goes, yes. And we have 17 years between, but like we remember the same things with him.
Okay.
So it's, and he look at
that's
the
an-
pictures.
Another thing too is I've been back to England to live for a bit, and England is a lot like Russia because when you have the tower flats in East London, they're a lot like the buildings that Stalin built in Russia, and they have the kind of same drab curtains. Like if you watch The Clockwork Orange, you see these kind of the curtains and stuff. It's like that, and so there's a lot of similarities in the cultures.
What are those things on the castles and big buildings in Russia? Are they minarets or?
No, so those
What
are,
are those things
this
called?
is a Russian
They're like-
Orthodox church, a Russian Orthodox church. So it's a Christian church. Same, religion as here, but it's an Orthodox, so it's a bit more conservative. And I have never noticed, it's interesting you bring it up because in my mind it was just a church. But then after I moved here and I realized that they look more, or went to travel in Europe, that look more like straight here. I realized that Russia is a perfect combination of East and West. It's like a church with a mosque with a cross
yeah,
on
that's
top of
what
it.
it reminds me of.
So this is all there's like this dome looks like a mosque or a minaret, but there's
Yeah.
always a cross on top of it. And it's we have a funny story. They're very, very conservative. So you go in and Russia is strange.
No noise.
Russia's
Like
strange in the
silence.
religion because Soviet Union was an atheist society. So you were not allowed to believe in the Soviet Union. So, but before that, before that, Russia was
Should we warn the Americans that the Bolsheviks are coming for
There's
them right
no-
now?
for the first 900 not the first 900 years, Russia was only baptized in 1989. Before that, it was a pagan society.
Oh, okay.
Then in 1989, the Byzantium came and they baptized Ukraine and Russia, which turned it Christian. So, but what you see is like 1,000 years of paganism, which is very prevalent in nature. So say, I'll tell Chris, if we leave the house, if you forget something, I still do this. This is how prominent it is. If I forget something, I have to return. I always tell him, look in the mirror. He goes, why? I said, because something bad can happen to you if you don't look in the mirror. This is like a very strange, like things that passed on.
She gets into some of the
God knows from
Superstitions.
where. It's very superstitious society.
Anastasia books. You should talk about that. That's
Oh,
interesting.
that's like that's a whole separate,
The
podcast.
Ringing Cedar book
The
series.
Anastasia.
It's called
Anastasia books.
Anastasia books.
Anastasia
But in
books.
Russia, they're like, it's almost like a new age type religion, but it has to do with, once again, esoteric mysticism, kind of living off
Man,
the
there's
land.
so much stuff that I missed.
Yes, but that one is. But what I was talking about with Russia, with so it was first pagan, that 1,000 years of Christianity, and like all my grandmothers, they had the icons in there, like it was really prominent. They wanted it, believe in it. But then 70 years of communism, and communists said, no, we can't practice this. So you were allowed to practice it, but say if you wanted more money, more status, you had to proclaim yourself as an atheist. So what happens to people when you're told you can't believe? You all of a sudden say, well,
Right.
I want to believe in something. That's
Yeah.
bullshit,
That's when they
So-
take away, and I think they're doing this in America now, not to get too political, but when you take away people's ability to feel spiritual, to feel like you are an aspect of the creator itself, you are removing people's ability to have hope and great feeling and joy in life. And what they're really doing, if you pay attention these days, a lot of this is demoralizing, and a lot of it's, it's very conflictual and divisive. And what happens is it puts people in a low vibration state, a lot of what they seem to be doing. And at the same time, they're getting rid of the they're trying to, break down the family, break down social cohesion. And that causes
that's what you were saying
people
about
to lose that ability to feel spiritual, which is actually what we're here for. I believe we're here to metamorphosize from
Well, once again, coming back
to
to
a
the
butterfly.
family, what you were saying, to the family, and more of there's all there is to it, like basic things that everybody wants, just to have your simple, normal life, and sometimes you want it to yourself. Like I told Chris, I was like, now the older I get, the more I realize that this is all that really matters. Whereas when I was at home and my family comes from very simple beginnings, most of them. So that always was super suffocating to me. We were coming to, Chris knows, my dad's family. They were all working at the metal work factory, and it's all the same thing over and over and over. And to me, it was very religious. To me, it was very suffocating. It felt like I wanted to escape. Yet when I escaped here and I turned out to be here, I find the same values, and I realized they are the same everywhere.
That's right.
But then I'm actually going, well, maybe that's why I wanted to escape in the first place, to kind of realize and maybe pass the message along that it's the same everywhere.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's it.
She's shaking her ass for peace and prosperity around the world.
That's what I shake my ass for.
Love, peace, and love.
And I'm on board with that, 100%.
Yes. Everybody's falling asleep here.
I know.
We have to go to bed.
No, it's been a long podcast. We might even chop this up. Who knows?
Yes. We need to
But, thank y'all for coming. This has been great. It's been wide open. We've been exposed to a lot of things that
I love it.
a lot of things that we didn't know about. I love the international feel of it.
Cool.
And so that leads me to the Uncle Dave's Tale of the Week. And I'm going to go back and do a repeat. I think I read this one on the very first podcast. And I'm going to read it again because it follows in that international thing.
Cool.
Considering all the fear and hate mongering our politicians love to incite and love for us to participate in, I expect if anyone, I have a most valid bone to pick with a small group of Middle Easterners. See, back in 1958, my daddy, a 20-year Air Force man, was stationed in Tripoli, Libya. That's tip-top in the middle of the continent of Africa, bordered on the north by the beautiful Mediterranean Sea, and on the east by the Sahara Desert. The Mediterranean Sea was my wading pool, and the Sahara Desert was my sandbox for a couple of childhood years. I was 4 years old when we arrived there. You'd think it'd be quite a culture shock, but I couldn't have told you whether I was in Cairo, Georgia, or Cairo, Egypt. I did notice there was an abundance of camels and sand. They didn't have women like that either. They were covered up. They didn't show much over there. They had the, whatever that's
Burqa.
called.
Yarmulke, burqa.
Burqa. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So it was a beautiful land, rich in ancient history and filled with exotic aromas. We lived in an apartment compound in Tripoli, off the base, with neighbors of all ethnicities, American, Italian, French, British. There were 2 Arabic landlords who lived in rudimentary shacks in each corner of the compound. Our landlord was named Ali. The other landlord was named Muhammad. I'm serious. A huge wall surrounded the apartment compound with a couple of steel gates for entry and exit. Standing on the balcony of our second-story apartment, you could see shards of multicolored glass embedded in the top of the wall, gleaming in the midday sun. Inside the apartment, we were very American. Mom and Daddy were from South Georgia, Hoboken, and Waycross. So we still ate biscuits and fried chicken with the occasional spaghetti supper. And we did on a handsome Telefunken stereo console cabinet that Daddy bought while he was in Germany. In October 1959, Daddy brought home a Marty Robbins record, El Paso. I was helplessly drawn into the melody, the stunning harmonies of the Glazer brothers, the cinematic storyline, and I would lie on the floor, chin in hands, listening and watching the cowboy die in Felina's arms over and over again. Like most kids in the 50s, I was well into the cowboy ethos, and I fancy myself a good candidate to outdraw bad guys and rope and ride with the best. How foolish of me. I was in the land of Alibaba. 40 thieves, guys. So on Christmas Day, 1959, I received a brand spanking new cowboy outfit from Santa Claus. I ambled out of the apartment, across the compound, and shimmied up the big iron gate that transformed into my stagecoach. Bunkhouse. Just about then, 4 or 5 young Arab boys had gathered beneath me, speaking a language I couldn't put a finger on. Before I could say yippee-ki-yay, they reached up and stripped me down to my socks and underwear. Gone was the pearl-handled gun and holster, my shiny boots, my silver spurs, my rugged chaps, and my childhood innocence.
Poof.
I kicked and yelled for all I was worth until Ali, the landlord, finally made it out to see what all the fuss was about. He was too late. They had absconded with the goods and tore out wherever it was they called home. It was devastating back then, but I've forgiven them in my heart. So I figure somewhere in Libya, a Western cowboy culture was created with rodeos and Arabs riding camels.
This explains Gaddafi's outfits.
Instead of bulls, shouting jihad instead of yeehaw. Yep.
I love this. You're a very good writer.
Yeah.
I like this.
It's some frank honesty and pretty sad too. A little boy, they're taking your stuff.
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
it's an old memory at this point, and I figured,
He still hasn't let it go.
Well, what I want to do, folks, we've been talking about this Uncle Dave's Cowboy Bunkhouse. Keep your eyes and ears peeled, because it's coming.
It's coming.
And
You've been warned.
We've been there.
you've been forewarned.
You don't want to go in there.
Maybe I can have some international people on it, like Alex the Ukrainian, and
We may bring him.
Yeah.
I'll say it in Russian. Дядя Саша, приезжайте. It means Alex.
whatever she said.
Yes.
Come on over, Alex.
Thank y'all so much for
Thank
being
you
a part
so
of
much
this.
for inviting
do a
us.
Waycross
It was
Banyan.
so much.
The
Ooh.
Uncle Dave's
Uncle
bunkhouse.
Dave's Cowboy Bunker.
Yes, we can put it right there.
with pine cones
I
on the
want, to
back.
be, I want to be the one that whips them.
Okay.
Hey, thank y'all so much for watching. This has been an incredible episode for us, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Be sure to subscribe and like us and do all the little formalities that makes YouTube videos go. And remember our Patreon account over there on patreon.com. It's called Something Water the Deep End. $5 a month. That's all it takes. And you'll probably see a little bit of this on that.
Dave takes his shirt off.
I don't take my shirt off. The Arabs take my shirt off.
It's the bunkhouse special.
Thank y'all again for being
Thank
here.
you. Yeah.
When the cold black water finds its way across through your veins, it just might seal your fate. mine.